Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal Venerable. See playlist for other chapters and novels. Join now our Telegram channel now and enjoy exclusive early access. t.me/blood_immortal_official. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 81, Secret Mining. In Yi Tian's eyes, Yun Feng's talent was all too clear. Human, Yun Feng, cultivation talent, extraordinary. Wind blade talent, top tier. Speed talent, mid-tier. Contrary to what was publicly known, that Yun Feng had only basic speed talent, his speed talent had now become mid-tier. Although the gap between basic and mid was just one tier, the actual difference in speed was significant. Basic speed talent could amplify speed threefold, while mid-speed talent could amplify it fivefold. For example, if Yun Feng's speed talent was at 5 times the speed of sound, his basic speed talent would have only allowed him to achieve 15 times the speed of sound. With mid-speed talent, he could reach 25 times the speed of sound. The difference between 15 and 25 was immense, like comparing clouds to mud. Yun Feng is indeed lucky, Yi Tian thought to himself. Not only has he elevated his cultivation talent to an extraordinary level within the secret realm, but he has also upgraded his speed talent from basic to mid. With mid-speed talent, others can hardly harm Yun Feng. And his top-tier wind blade talent can instantly kill most of the powerful warriors among them. Among the 20 or so people from the Hellion family, there were genuine powerhouses. For instance, Hellion Bai was very strong, possessing 3 unique talents, mid-insight talent, basic speed talent, and high-level earth spear talent. In terms of sheer power, Hellion Bai was formidable, second only to battle geniuses like Yun Feng. After scanning the battlefield briefly, Yi Tian lost interest, the outcome was already decided. His spatial perception extended underground to investigate the vein of elemental stones. Suddenly, he sensed a massive beast deep within the earth. The creature was located 420 meters below ground, within the range affected by his copying talent. Type: Earth-walking pangolin. Bloodline talent, top tier. Defensive talent, mid-tier. Earth escape talent, mid-tier. Strength talent, mid-tier. This beast is indeed powerful, Yi Tian marveled. It possesses 3 unique talents and even has an earth escape talent. In an underground battle, even warriors much stronger than it might not be able to defeat it. He now understood why Hellion Bai had not taken these elemental stones despite spending 10 years in the secret realm. He couldn't defeat this earth-walking pangolin. These warriors are guarding the entrance to the underground tunnel they must have dug, Yi Tian mused. If I dig another entrance, I won't have enough time, and the noise would alert them. Teleporting directly was also unrealistic. Teleportation could only take him where his eyes could see. If he were to appear at that entrance, he would definitely be discovered. If my spatial talent were high level, maybe I could pull it off, but not now, Yi Tian thought, struggling to come up with a solution. Xiaozi, do you know of any other ways to get to the vein of elemental stones? Yi Tian patted Xiaozi's purple backside as he asked. Pervert master, Xiaozi huffed indignantly but obediently replied, I do know of another tunnel. It was dug by that earth-walking pangolin. It doesn't stay underground all the time, it occasionally goes out to hunt other beasts for energy. I happened to find the tunnel. Happen to, Yi Tian speculated that Xiaozi must have set its sights on the elemental stones and thus calculatedly sought another passage. However, being much weaker than the earth-walking pangolin, it had failed. Where is it? Yi Tian asked. Xiaozi pointed to a distant location, and Yi Tian immediately teleported there. His one-time teleportation range was 1,000 meters, and with the use of spatial markings, he could teleport 2,000 meters in an instant. Given that this was out of the range of the warrior's spiritual sense and coupled with Yi Tian's ultra-fast consecutive teleportation, no one detected him. Soon enough, he arrived. Swiftly, Yi Tian arrived at the place Xiaozi had described, a small lake. Master, beneath this lake is a passage that connects to an underground chamber. From that chamber, you can enter the tunnel that the earth-walking pangolin has dug, Xiaozi explained. Even without Xiaozi's reminder, Yi Tian had already sensed it. Wow, this earth-walking pangolin really knows how to dig. It even dug its way into the lake. If Xiaozi hadn't led the way, even with my spatial awareness, it would have taken a lot of effort to find this place, Yi Tian marveled. So, Yi Tian, accompanied by Xiaozi, entered the lake and followed the underwater passage to reach an underground chamber. There, he found numerous tunnels. It was like an underground labyrinth sprawling in all directions. However, such a labyrinth was as good as non-existent to Yi Tian, thanks to his spatial perception. Let's go. Yi Tian let Xiaozi lead the way, slowly approaching the qi stone vein. The concentration of qi has increased manifold. Yi Tian abruptly realized this, clearly indicating that they were nearing the qi stone vein. There's a qi stone here. Upon reaching a tunnel, Yi Tian found a qi stone embedded in the rock wall. This qi stone was entirely white, radiating an extremely dense qi. How much qi must this stone have gathered to be this rich? No wonder it's so precious, Yi Tian said as he carefully excavated the stone, making sure to avoid alerting any ferocious beasts. It's worth mentioning that the rock layers here were extremely hard. Clearly, they had undergone transformation due to the nourishment of qi. An average person wouldn't have been able to chip even a speck of dust from these rocks. Crack, accompanied by a soft sound, the first qi stone was successfully excavated by Yi Tian and was promptly stored in his personal space. Keep searching. Quickly, Yi Tian found about 10 more qi stones and harvested them all, storing them in his personal space. The battle is almost over. Yi Tian's spatial perception revealed the situation above ground. Under Yunfeng's full strength, the people of the Hellion family were falling one by one, unable to resist Yunfeng. At that moment, around a dozen members of the Hellion family had already perished. If the Hellion family is completely wiped out, Yunfeng definitely won't leave the qi stone vein unexploited. He can deal with the earth-walking pangolin, and I can take this opportunity to quickly dig out the qi stones unnoticed, Yi Tian thought, smiling broadly at his plan. In truth, he had another option, to kill everyone, including Yunfeng, to monopolize the entire qi stone vein. But he didn't do that, as one of his principles was to avoid intentionally killing people. 11 stones, 12 stones, 13 stones, 20 stones. Yi Tian happily harvested one qi stone after another, completely avoiding the attention of both people and beasts, except for Xiaozi, of course. Above ground, Yunfeng had also sustained some minor injuries. Being the skilled warriors of the Hellion family, they had their trump cards or astonishing weapons. It was unrealistic to expect Yunfeng to kill them without getting hurt. Under the influence of moderate speed talent, the people of the Hellion family stood no chance of escape. 10 minutes passed. Only one person remained in the battlefield, Hellion Bai. .. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 82. Mad Mining of One Man and One Beast. Chapter 82. Mad Mining of One Man and One Beast. Haha, I never expected to underestimate you. Your speed talent has actually reached the mid-level. I can't accept this. Hellion Bai spat out blood, laughing in unwilling rage. Die. Yunfeng waved his hand, and a blade of wind pierced through Hellion Bai's chest, not giving him any more time to speak. The attack killed Hellion Bai, who was already severely injured, on the spot. Thankfully, I acquired a wind spirit grass, which elevated my speed talent to a mid-level. Otherwise, I would have been gravely injured, if not killed, by these martial masters surrounding me, Yunfeng said with relief. Immediately, he became excited and hurriedly took away the storage bags of these people. These many storage bags, especially Hellion Bai's, were undoubtedly filled with numerous treasures, the value of which was immeasurable. He was merely a side branch genius of the Yun family. Even though his combat talent was high, he hadn't received much cultivation support from the Yun family. All resources had to be acquired by himself. Now, his cultivation talent had reached the extraordinary level, making him among the top cultivators in the Demon Sea base. With all these resources, he didn't have to worry about future cultivation. And there's this spirit stone vein with 20 units of qi. Yunfeng's eyes burned with passion. These spirit stone veins were even more valuable. Once he killed the fierce beast guarding them, the entire vein would be his. These spirit stones would truly be a massive gain. First, let's heal. The spirit stones won't run away. Once I'm fully recovered, I'll go and kill that beast, Yunfeng decided. It took him about half an hour to fully recover his injuries and restore his energy as well as stamina. He was now in peak condition. Boom, he stepped into the entrance tunnel, descending underground. An unavoidable battle erupted. Meanwhile, as Yunfeng fought the earth-walking pangolin, Yi Tian had already mined 200 spirit stones. Hee, you guys keep fighting. Once you're done, most of the spirit stones will fall into my hands, Yi Tian muttered to himself. According to his spatial sense, many spirit stones in this vein had been consumed by the earth-walking pangolin. Plus, it was a small vein, so there weren't many spirit stones left. Now, the entire vein had probably only around 3,000 spirit stones. Though it was far less than the vein that was found 10 years ago, for Yi Tian, this was an unimaginable fortune. At this moment, Yunfeng and the earth-walking pangolin were embroiled in a loud battle, so as long as Yi Tian kept his mining noise to a minimum, he wouldn't attract their attention. Xiaozi, don't slack off, dig with me, Yi Tian commanded. Master, I'll dig diligently, Xiaozi nodded continuously. freewebnovel.com. Mining treasures was Xiaozi's favorite activity. It had always wanted to mine spirit stones but didn't dare due to the pangolin's presence. Now, with its master to back it up, it was no longer afraid. The man and the beast began to frantically dig within the spirit stone vein. Ordinary people would take a long time to mine even a single spirit stone because most of the material was waste rock. However, Yi Tian, with his spatial sensing ability, could see through the layers of rock to accurately locate the spirit stones, thus mining at a rapid pace. Of course, Yi Tian chose to mine only those spirit stones that were relatively easier to extract. 300 stones, 400 stones, 500 stones, ... Damn it, the defense of this beast is too high. Even my top-tier wind blade talent can't kill it in one shot, unless I hit its weak point. But it keeps using earth escape techniques to get away, it's too hard to kill. Yunfeng furrowed his brow. Abandoning the opportunity to kill this ferocious beast is impossible. It's already targeting me. Covertly mining isn't an option. The only way out is to eliminate it so that I can mine the chi stones, Yunfeng thought. Consequently, he attempted to lure the pangolin-like creature out of its hiding place. This action, however, greatly facilitated Yi Tian's task. Yi Tian had been worried about being discovered by the creature and had been cautiously mining chi stones from a distance. Now that the creature was lured out to the surface, Yi Tian started mining more audaciously. 600 pieces, 700 pieces, 800 pieces. Yi Tian continued to accelerate his mining speed, and the sound started to grow louder, echoing to the surface. While struggling with the creature, Yunfeng heard the faint sounds from below. What's going on underground? Yet, he didn't ponder much on it. The creature didn't value chi stones much. It couldn't use them to enhance its own abilities anymore. To it, chi stones were merely snacks, eating too many of them would diminish its interest. Now, its most hated enemy was Yunfeng, the one who had wounded it. Even if it knew that someone had intruded from below, its first priority was to take down Yunfeng. The creature was simple-minded, nowhere near as intelligent as Xiaozi and Xiao Jin. Had it been more intelligent, Yi Tian wouldn't have had such an easy time mining the chi stones. Time trickled away, and the underground noises grew louder. Yunfeng even heard the sound of mining, which led him to speculate, could someone be mining chi stones? This possibility made Yunfeng anxious. I must use my trump card. In Yunfeng's hand appeared a bead, no ordinary one but an array bead. It was engraved with a minor array known as the illusion array. This sort of bead, known as the illusion bead, was a very precious artifact. Once activated, it would set up a minor illusion, but it was a one-time use item. While not very effective on high-tier warriors, it could easily bewilder a beast of limited intelligence. Boom, the array bead activated, and the power of the illusion array spread out, entrapping the creature which had just surfaced. Caught within the illusion, the creature thought it had injured Yunfeng and was feeling triumphant when suddenly a pain shot through its eyes, and its brain turned to mush. The next moment, the creature's consciousness dispersed, leaving behind a lifeless body. Just then, Yunfeng had seized the opportunity when the creature was trapped in the illusion. He used his wind blade to pierce through its eyes and enter its brain, scrambling it, thereby killing the creature. Looking at the now dimmed illusion bead, Yunfeng felt a pang of regret. But he had no time to mourn. He quickly descended through the tunnel. Underground, within a particular passage, Yi Tian, observing the situation above, sighed regretfully. I can't continue mining. I didn't expect Yunfeng to have such a trump card. He killed the creature so quickly. But it's enough. I've mined nearly 1,800 chi stones, and Xiaozi has mined quite a bit too. Though there are still some left, they are mostly deep within the rock. Yunfeng can dig them up if he wants. Whoosh, Yi Tian moved swiftly, departing the area and signaling Xiaozi to do the same. Together, they passed through the underground passage, quickly reaching the underground lake and making their escape. And so, Yunfeng remained blissfully unaware that someone had mined a considerable number of chi stones from right under his nose. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 83, The Incredibly Valuable Xiaozi. Chapter 83, The Incredibly Valuable Xiaozi. After retreating dozens of miles, Yi Tian and Xiaozi finally came to a halt. It was time for Xiaozi to hand over the chi stones. Xiaozi, where are the chi stones? Yi Tian inquired. Unwillingly, Xiaozi opened its mouth and spat out a storage bag. This bag was given to Xiaozi by Yi Tian for the purpose of carrying chi stones. Yi Tian opened the storage bag and counted carefully. 412 chi stones, not bad. Yi Tian praised. Considering Xiaozi's limited strength and the rock layer's toughness, it was no small feat that Xiaozi managed to excavate 412 chi stones in such a short time. Keep up the good work. After we get back this time, I'll take care of the items in this storage bag, and then it will belong to you, Yi Tian promised. Master, are you serious? Xiaozi quivered, not from fear but from excitement. This was the first time it had ever seen a storage bag. With it, Xiaozi could easily store treasures. Even though it had encountered many treasures before, it had always been unable to carry them away due to its small size. Now things were different. The master was actually going to gift it a storage bag. Xiaozi couldn't contain its excitement. Master, I will work hard and find more treasures. Xiaozi vowed. Yi Tian smiled faintly. He was simply counting on Xiaozi to find more treasures while they were in the secret realm. Not long after leaving the realm, he could replicate Xiaozi's talents, after which he wouldn't need Xiaozi anymore. But of course, he wouldn't discard it. He planned to give it to his sister Yiyu, who he assumed would love Xiaozi. Let's go, let's continue our treasure hunt, Yi Tian urged. Okay, master, there's another treasure over there, let's go grab it. Xiaozi, seemingly transformed into a female bandit, led Yi Tian on with renewed enthusiasm. At that moment, Yunfeng entered the chi stone mine and was dumbfounded. There were countless small holes throughout the rock layers in the tunnels. From the traces, it was evident that someone had recently been mining and had likely taken away many chi stones. Who was the little thief who stole my chi stones? Yunfeng was infuriated. While he had been fighting above, someone had sneakily stolen his chi stones, making him depressed. However, his mood improved somewhat when he thought of the treasures he had acquired from Hellion Bai and others. That little thief must have run away. I've looked everywhere and haven't found him. The sound of mining has also stopped. Humph. I don't believe you could have taken many chi stones in such a short time. Most of them should still belong to me. Thus, Yunfeng also began his mining process. However, the remaining time was short, only about 7 or 8 days, and he would have to spend 2 days just to travel. So, the actual mining time was only about 5 to 6 days. No matter what, he had to leave within 5 or 6 days. Otherwise, he'd be as frustrated as Hellion Bai, who had been stuck in the secret realm for a decade. Dig, 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 Yunfeng mined like a man possessed, but it took a long time to dig out a single chi stone. Furthermore, he caused severe damage to the rock layers, causing several tunnels to collapse. For 5 to 6 continuous days, Yunfeng mined without taking any rest. By the end of it, he was covered in dust and looked utterly exhausted, yet his eyes were filled with disappointment. Damn it, how did it take so long to mine just 500 chi stones? Yunfeng was incredibly frustrated. Rumor had it that even a small vein of chi stones would contain at least 10,000 stones, and the larger veins could have hundreds of thousands. The last documented chi stone vein had been mined for a staggering 10,000 stones. So, why had he unearthed only 500? The gap between 10,000 and 500 was just too vast. That petty thief couldn't have taken many chi stones in such a short time, maybe 100 at most. And here I am with only 500. There must still be some deeply hidden stones, but all in all, this vein might only contain around 1,000 chi stones, Yunfeng estimated. 1,000 chi stones were indeed too few and didn't fit the reputation of a chi stone vein. Yunfeng could only surmise that some beast had consumed a significant number of stones. That was the only explanation. If he ever found out that Yi Tian had secretly mined over 2,000 chi stones, he would surely go mad. Deciding not to continue mining, Yunfeng headed toward the spatial rift. Yi Tian also chose not to search for treasures with Xiaozi. Instead, he too made his way toward the spatial rift. In recent days, Yi Tian's gains had not been smaller than those from the Qi stone vein. With Xiaozi's guidance and the natural treasure trove of the secret realm, Yi Tian had amassed an astonishing number of items. He had collected as many as 50 herbs that were over 1,000 years old and hundreds of herbs that were a century old. Moreover, he had found 3 treasures that could improve cultivation talent, as well as ice spirit grass that could boost water or ice attributes, perfect for Yi Yu, who had an ice attribute talent. I'm satisfied. Yi Tian was confident that among all the warriors who had entered the secret realm this time, none had a haul greater than his, not even the exceptionally lucky Yun Feng. Spatial rift, the exit. One warrior after another rushed to this spot. Quite a few of them didn't have storage bags and carried large bundles, drawing attention. Still, nobody dared to rob or fight them, it would mean trouble later. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One after another, the warriors exited the secret realm. At this moment, Yi Tian also arrived, flashing into the spatial rift and emerging into the outer world. Yi Tian, over here. Yu Ling's voice came. Yi Tian quickly ran over and boarded Yu family's wind-controlling ship. How did it go? Yu Ling asked curiously. Not bad, Yi Tian nodded. Just then, Yu Ling's eyes fell upon Xiaozi, and he looked extraordinarily surprised. Is that a purple golden treasure mouse? Yes, Yi Tian said. It was no surprise to Yi Tian that Yu Ling, being widely read, recognized the purple golden treasure mouse. Do you know how valuable a purple golden treasure mouse is? You actually tamed one. Yu Ling looked a bit envious. How valuable? Yi Tian was eager to know. A single one is worth 100 billion, and they're priceless because they're hard to find. With a purple golden treasure mouse, searching for treasures becomes much easier. And your purple golden treasure mouse must have consumed some treasure to enhance its bloodline talent, it must be at least of high grade. Its price might even be as high as 200 billion. How about you sell it to me? Yu Ling was tempted. Upon hearing the conversation between Yi Tian and Yu Ling, Xiaozi trembled and said nervously, Master, please don't sell Xiaozi. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 84, Trading Treasures. Yi Tian patted Xiaozi's backside, signaling it not to worry. Yu Ling, I apologize. It has already recognized me as its master, Yi Tian said. Yu Ling smiled, ownership can be revoked, and my Yu family knows how to do so. If you're willing to sell, that's not an issue at all. Clearly, she hadn't given up on buying Xiaozi. I'm not selling, Yi Tian flatly refused. What a joke, was he to sell Xiaozi for a mere 200 billion? Forget about anything else, the treasures Xiaozi had found for him in the mystical land alone were worth far more than 200 billion. Take the Qi stones, for instance. One stone was worth 1 billion, and with 2,200 Qi stones, their total value reached 2.2 trillion. 200 billion was merely chump change compared to that. As far as Yi Tian was concerned, 200 billion was trifling. Moreover, he didn't think Xiaozi was worth just 200 billion. Xiaozi had a high-level treasure-seeking talent. Ordinary purple gold treasure mice had at best beginner or mid-treasure-seeking abilities. A beginner-level purple gold treasure mouse with a top-tier bloodline might even be worth more than 200 billion. Xiaozi's value, which combined a high-level treasure-seeking talent and a top-tier bloodline, was absolutely incalculable. If Yi Tian had sold Xiaozi, that would have been truly foolish. Even if he were to give it to his sister in the future, that would still be better than selling it. He wouldn't let a good thing go cheaply. Seeing Yi Tian truly had no intention of selling, Yu Ling finally gave up on the idea of buying Xiaozi. Yi Tian, be careful. The purple gold treasure mouse is extremely valuable. Perhaps no one would dare to rob you in the Mohai base, but if you leave, you might find yourself targeted, Yu Ling warned. I understand, Yi Tian nodded. But he was not worried. He had acquired a massive number of treasures this time and had no plans to leave Mohai base anytime soon. And given some time, his rate of growth would far exceed anyone's expectations. By the time he did leave the Mohai base, anyone harboring thoughts of stealing Xiaozi would be utterly despairing. Master, you're so good to me, not selling Xiaozi. Xiaozi will definitely work hard to make you 200 billion in the future. Xiaozi, naive as it was, only knew that the figure 200 billion was massive. It had no concept of the value of that sum, let alone that the treasures it had found were worth far more. If it knew, it would have definitely given Yu Ling a super disdainful look. A measly 200 billion to buy it, Xiaozi. Xiaozi wasn't that cheap. The senior warriors of the Yu family returned one by one. By the time the spatial rift was about to close, only 6 had returned, including Yu Ling. The Yu family lost more than half of its senior warriors, Yi Tian mused to himself. Fortunately, another top-tier talent of the Yu family had survived, so the losses weren't too significant. In the sky, the spatial rift began to shrink rapidly. Even if Yunhe Wang wanted to stop it, he couldn't, unless he was willing to risk his life to keep it open for another month. And he definitely wouldn't do that. 1,000 senior warriors went in, but fewer than 300 came out. Yu Ling couldn't help but sigh. Yi Tian remained silent, feeling the brutal nature of their adventure in the mystical land. If not for his top-tier healing talent and teleportation abilities, he would have likely died under the siege of wild beasts given his reckless treasure collecting. This just showed how dangerous it was for other senior warriors. Being alive was already a stroke of luck. If the senior warriors in the Linhai base knew that a single journey into the mystical land resulted in the loss of over 700 of their kind, they would surely be stunned, Yi Tian thought to himself. After all, in a small place like Linhai base, grand warriors were big shots. The fall of even one would cause a huge commotion. But in Demon Sea base, grand warriors seemed as abundant as weeds. The deaths of many weren't worth shedding tears over, because if one batch died, another batch of elite warriors would rise to take their place. Let's go, Yu Ben announced, seeing that the spatial rift had completely closed. There was no point in waiting any longer. Even if warriors from the Yu family were still alive, they couldn't come out now. They would have to wait another 10 years. Boom, the wind-controlled ship soared into the sky, heading for Demon Sea base. Ships from other families also flew off one by one. Soon enough, the vast mountain range was devoid of human presence, and the fierce beasts quickly reclaimed the area. The Yu family. The wind-controlled ship descended, and Yi Tian landed on the ground. Yi Tian, the treasures you obtained in the secret realm are yours to keep. But if there are some you don't need, would you be willing to trade them to the Martial Pavilion? Yu Ling inquired. Sure, Yi Tian agreed. He had been planning to trade some of the treasures anyway, as they were so numerous that he had filled his pocket space in 2 storage bags. Come, I'll take you to the Martial Pavilion. Yu Ling led Yi Tian away from the Yu family residence, heading towards the nearby branch of the Martial Pavilion. They arrived shortly. This Martial Pavilion is huge. Yi Tian exclaimed silently as he looked at the 50-meter-tall ancient-styled edifice before him. Compared to the Demon Sea base's Martial Pavilion branch, the one in Linhai base was downright shabby. There are 10 branches like this in the entire Demon Sea base, and the main tower of the Martial Pavilion is even more magnificent, rising up to 100 meters. Yu Ling explained. Entering the Martial Pavilion, Yu Ling personally arranged for Yi Tian to engage in trade. Under her arrangements, an experienced appraisal master assessed and valued Yi Tian's treasures. Young sir, please take out the treasures, the appraisal master requested. Yi Tian took out his storage bag and began placing item after item on the appraisal table, quickly filling it up. Yu Ling's pupils contracted as she looked at Yi Tian incredulously. These treasures were too numerous. But she quickly understood. She thought about the purple gold treasure rat. In the natural treasury environment of the secret realm, having such a pet made finding various treasures incredibly easy. Young sir, are you really willing to trade all these treasures to our Martial Pavilion? The appraisal master's emotions were somewhat agitated. In his decades of service, this was the first time he had encountered such a large transaction. Yes, all of it, Yi Tian calmly confirmed. The quantity of these treasures might seem large, but they constituted only a tenth of his total haul. Moreover, these were relatively average in value. He hadn't brought out the real goodies. Due to the high value of the traded treasures, Yu Ling called in several other appraisal masters, even attracting the attention of a high-level executive from the Martial Pavilion who personally appraised Yi Tian's treasures. Half a day later, the Martial Pavilion executive spoke. Young Master Yi Tian, the total value of these treasures is 32.14 billion. We from the Martial Pavilion are willing to purchase them for 32.5 billion and also offer you a VIP card, which gives you a 5% discount on future purchases here. What do you say? That works. 32.5 billion it is. Yi Tian nodded, quite satisfied. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 85. The Glow of Treasures. Upon exiting the Martial Pavilion branch, Yu Ling's beautiful eyes fixed upon Yi Tian. Yi Tian, you're filthy rich now. With 32.5 billion, even I'm tempted to rob you. You'd better up your game if you want to rob me. You couldn't do it now. Yi Tian joked. How dare you tease me? Yu Ling pretended to be upset. Both shared a laugh and a bit of banter before preparing to go their separate ways. Before leaving, Yu Ling reminded him, Yi Tian, you're wealthy now. There's an auction hosted by the Martial Pavilion in 10 days, and I think you should attend. There are quite a few items that you'll find useful. After all, you haven't joined any factions, so many things you can only obtain through purchasing. Yu Ling, can you give me a hint about what good items will be there? Yi Tian became curious. He did have money now, but many valuable items were not traded openly. For example, he had inquired about storage bags at the Martial Pavilion only to find that they were unavailable. High-tier elemental body forging techniques. Yu Ling revealed. Really, they'll auction that? Yi Tian was brimming with interest. Having spent a considerable time at the Demon Sea base, he had long been inquiring about high-tier elemental body forging techniques. But such techniques were the core secrets of major factions and were never put up for trade. Unless he pledged loyalty to a significant power, obtaining high-tier techniques was impossible. Currently, he only had the mid-techniques given by Yu Ling. These were good, but they became almost ineffective once he reached the Grandmaster realm. If I want to continue my cultivation, I'll have to rely on the blood of top-tier ferocious beasts, Yi Tian thought. The difference in progress speed between Grandmasters with and without high-tier techniques was astronomical. Originally, he had planned to seek high-tier techniques after reaching the Grandmaster realm, but now it seemed he had a chance. Yu Ling, I'll definitely go. Yi Tian confirmed. Good, I'll get you an invitation for the auction in the next couple of days. You can just go directly then, Yu Ling arranged. Thank you. Yi Tian sincerely expressed his gratitude. If he had to arrange the invitation himself, it would have taken quite some time. Shortly after, the two parted ways. Upon arriving home, it was already evening. Yi Yu had returned from the martial school and was visibly excited to see Yi Tian. Brother, you're finally back. Yi Yu jogged over. However, her attention was quickly captured by Xiaozi, Little Purple. Wow, such a cute little mouse. Brother, is this your gift for me? Yi Yu's eyes twinkled like stars. It was no wonder. Xiaozi was truly adorable, especially the hint of golden fur between its brows, which elevated its aura several levels. Yes, this is your little gift, Yi Tian nodded. When Yi Tian handed Xiaozi over to Yi Yu, Xiaozi was bewildered. What's going on? Who is this woman? I thought I was the cute pet of my master. How come I'm with her now? Master, did you sell me? Xiaozi plaintively spoke in Yi Tian's mind. No, I didn't sell you. I'm just very busy and can't take you with me all the time. This is my sister Yi Yu, you'll stay with her from now on. She seems to like you a lot and will surely take good care of you, Yi Tian explained. That's good to hear, Xiaozi will listen to master. Xiaozi obediently said. With Xiaozi joining the household, Xiao Jin's little gold status plummeted instantly. Yi Yu used to play with Xiao Jin often, but now with Xiaozi around, Xiao Jin was almost abandoned. Of course. Yi Yu also frequently practiced cultivation, and as such, couldn't spend much time with Xiaozi and Xiao Jin. The two pets, however, quickly became friends. Xiaozi, I'm Xiaozi. What's your name, big guy? Xiao Jin, I'm Xiao Jin. My master named me Xiaozi. So, big guy, what can you do? Xiao Jin, I'm very fast and I have great stamina. Xiaozi, your abilities don't seem too impressive, do they? Do you know what I can do? I have a talent for treasure hunting. No treasure can escape my eyes. If you become my follower, I'll lead you to countless treasures in the future. Xiao Jin, big brother, you got it. Xiaozi, I'm female. Call me big sister. Xiao Jin, yes, big sister. In just a few sentences, Xiao Jin had become Xiaozi's subordinate. From then on, Xiaozi no longer walked by herself but rode on Xiao Jin's large body, treating him as a mount. When Yi Tian saw this, he couldn't help but laugh for several days. Seeing that Xiao Jin and Xiaozi were playing happily with Yi Yu, he didn't interfere much. On the fourth day after his return, the Yuling sect sent an invitation for an auction. Tucking away the auction invite, Yi Tian was about to start cultivating when he suddenly remembered that the cooldown time for his duplication talent had ended. I'll first duplicate Xiaozi's treasure hunting talent. Yi Tian decided. The talent was indeed amazing, not duplicating it would be a disservice to himself. Duplicate. Fuse. The high-tier treasure hunting talent didn't cause Yi Tian much pain. He only felt a bit hot and broke into a sweat. 10 minutes later, the fusion was complete. Treasure hunting talent, high tier. Looking at this line of talent description, Yi Tian was very satisfied. He immediately began to test the capabilities of the high-tier treasure hunting talent. He placed a 100-year-old ginseng, a 1,000-year-old polygonum multiflorum, and a vitality stone on the table, and then activated his treasure hunting talent. Next, an incredible scene unfolded. Whoa! 3 beams of light emitted from the 3 treasures. The light from the 100-year-old ginseng was a faint white, the light from the 1,000-year-old polygonum multiflorum was a strong white, and the light from the chi stone was a light red. Yi Tian then took out numerous other treasures and examined them one by one with his treasure hunting talent. Ultimately, he concluded that the color of the light was related to the level of the treasure, ranking them from low to high in white, red, and yellow light. Most of his own treasures emitted white light, fewer emitted red, and those emitting yellow light were exceptional items like the heavenly soul flower. As for what was above yellow light, Yi Tian didn't know. At the same time, Yi Tian also tested the range of his treasure hunting talent, finding it to be within 10 miles. Within this range, he could sense the existence of treasures and preliminarily determine their levels. Consequently, he saw a dense array of shining treasures within the 10-mile radius. Unfortunately, these treasures were all owned by others, he couldn't claim them. Among these, the most valuable emitted only yellow light. I have one more chance to duplicate. I should duplicate an extraordinary level cultivation talent. Yi Tian planned. According to what he knew, the highest talent at the Demon Sea base was an extraordinary level cultivation talent. Unable to duplicate a higher level talent, he could only fuse several extraordinary level talents together in an attempt to create a higher level talent. That was also an option. I'll go take a look around the Yun family's area first, Yi Tian decided as he set out lightly dressed. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 86. The Purple Blood Body Refinement Technique. The Yun family's estate was vast, spanning several miles with numerous high-rise buildings, resembling a small kingdom. The family had a large population too, with the main lineage and various branches accounting for nearly 100,000 people. This was the foundation of the leading clan in the Demon Sea base. Yi Tian came near the Yun family estate, harboring the intention to copy extraordinary cultivation talents. His talent for copying had a range of 500 meters. If Yun Tian appeared within that range, Yi Tian could surreptitiously replicate the other's extraordinary cultivation talent. However, Yi Tian quickly found himself disappointed. He didn't catch sight of Yun Tian, nor did he see any other extraordinary talents within the Yun family. Clearly, they were deep within the family estate. Unless he entered the estate or waited for these extraordinarily talented martial artists to come out, he would have difficulty copying their abilities. He gave up on the Yun family. Shortly after, Yi Tian continued his search for other extraordinary cultivation talents, but was unsuccessful. Clearly, even with a 500-meter coverage area, if he couldn't find anyone, he couldn't copy anything. In a few days, the auction will take place. I should encounter some extraordinary cultivation talents then, he thought. Yi Tian could only place his hopes on this upcoming auction. Time swiftly reached the day the auction was to begin. This auction held by the Martial Pavilion wasn't particularly large scale, it was one of the routine auctions conducted every couple of months. Nevertheless, it was hosted at the Martial Pavilion headquarters, and many people attended. Early in the morning, Yi Tian left his house and hurried to the Martial Pavilion headquarters. Truly majestic, Yi Tian exclaimed, gazing at the 100-meter-high Martial Pavilion headquarters. The place was heavily guarded, almost all of the soldiers were highly skilled martial artists, and there were even grandmasters overseeing security. And that was just the exterior. Yi Tian speculated that the interior would be even more heavily fortified, perhaps even guarded by individuals at the king level. The Martial Pavilion was organized by 3 major families, among which the Yu family was the weakest. Yet the pavilion had king-level attendants, so it made sense for there to be king-level guardians. Here at the headquarters, even those at the king level wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Upon entering, Yi Tian presented his invitation and was soon led by a female staff member to the 5th floor of the Martial Pavilion, where the auction was taking place. Upon arrival, Yi Tian took his seat according to his invitation. The auction venue differed from what he had imagined. There were no private rooms, everyone sat in a large hall. The only saving grace was that the seats were spaced out, preventing a sense of congestion. The venue could accommodate around 1,000 people, although it wasn't guaranteed that many would attend. Copy talent. With a thought, Yi Tian's talent for copying enveloped the entire auction hall. Soon, the talents of everyone present emerged one by one. The talents are all quite high, Yi Tian mused silently. Those who could attend this auction were no minor figures, hence, it was unlikely that their talents would be mediocre. The lowest were high-level cultivation talents, and there were quite a few top-level ones. As for extraordinary level cultivation talents, Yi Tian had yet to see any. Expand. The scope of his copy talent gradually broadened, soon covering the entire Martial Pavilion headquarters. I've found it. Yi Tian was overjoyed. On the 15th floor of the Martial Pavilion, which was also the highest floor, the talent details of a particular individual emerged before Yi Tian's eyes. Human. Chong Yuan. Cultivation talent. Extraordinary. Gravity talent. Basic. Yi Tian was elated. His search had finally yielded fruit. The other party has an extraordinary cultivation talent, likely a king-level powerhouse. The surname is Chong, not a warrior from one of the three major families in the Martial Pavilion, Yi Tian speculated. Without another word, he copied the talent. However, he chose not to integrate it just yet. He was at an auction venue, and integrating talents would lead to noticeable changes in his body. Naturally, he couldn't perform the integration here, he would have to wait until he returned home. After roughly half an hour of waiting, the auction began. The initial items up for bid weren't particularly precious, but they were quite beneficial for powerful warriors. For instance, some items could assist in cultivation, increasing the speed of cultivation by 2 or even 3 times. Unfortunately, the duration of this effect was limited, lasting at most a month. Yet even with such a short duration, these items easily fetched bids of 10 or 20 billion. Yi Tian had an unknown number of treasures and didn't care about these mundane items. His aim was to acquire high-tier elemental body forging techniques. However, before these techniques came up for auction, an item that piqued Yi Tian's interest appeared. Next up, we have cultivation insights from a king-level practitioner. These insights come from the Typhoon King, who perished in a beast tide 40 years ago. The starting bid is 5 billion. The auctioneer announced. Typhoon King. The name was incredibly renowned. Although he had fallen 40 years ago, stories about Typhoon King were widely circulated, and no one was unfamiliar with him. King-level cultivation insights were indeed valuable, but not many were interested in purchasing them. Cultivation relied on talent and resources. How useful could these insights really be? Perhaps they'd be useful for cultivation novices, but those present were either senior members of major financial groups or core disciples and elders of major families. They could easily access their own faction's repositories to learn various cultivation secrets, so there was no need to spend such a vast sum on king-level insights. Others might not have been interested, but Yi Tian was. He had always been cultivating alone, groping his way through the process. His understanding of realms beyond the Grandmaster level was quite vague. These insights would be extremely useful to him. 5.5 billion. Yi Tian raised his bid card. 6 billion. 7 billion. 8 billion. The competition wasn't particularly fierce. With only a few people bidding, Yi Tian, flaunting his substantial wealth, won the cultivation insights for 11 billion. At this moment, many looked at Yi Tian as though he were a spendthrift, believing that what he spent was not worth it. 11 billion. This was not a trifling sum but real money. A heavenly soul flower that could improve talent had a price tag of only 100 billion. Of course, the heavenly soul flower was indeed priced at this level, it's just that nobody was willing to sell it. The auction continued. One by one, valuable items were sold, including an item that could enhance talent. However, it did not enhance cultivation talent but rather a fire elemental type of talent. It was called the Crimson Flame Lingzi. This Crimson Flame Lingzi was effective only for elementary fire element talents and did not guarantee a 100% improvement, so its price wasn't exorbitant, only 120 billion. Indeed, there are many good items, things that are almost impossible to buy outside. Only here can one find such treasures, Yi Tian thought to himself. Finally, in the long wait, what Yi Tian coveted most, the high-tier elemental body forging techniques, appeared. Coming from the super base, Zonghai base, a high-tier elemental body forging technique, purple blood body forging. You all don't have to worry about its origins, we, the Martial Pavilion, guarantee there are absolutely no issues, the auctioneer declared. The starting bid is 30 billion. The auctioneer announced. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 87. The Mysterious Treasure. Chapter 87. The Mysterious Treasure. Only 30 billion. So cheap. A high-level yuan force body cultivation technique can found a great clan. A grandmaster inquired with disbelief. Others attending the auction also expressed their curiosity. The scarcity of great clans in the Demon Sea base was largely due to the control over these high-level yuan force body cultivation techniques. Mid-level yuan force body cultivation techniques were more or less the same and many people possessed them. However, high-level techniques were very different and complex, involving many aspects. A single high-level yuan force body cultivation technique could transform a small clan into a great one. Precisely because of this, such techniques were invaluable. A starting bid of 30 billion was so low that it was hard to believe it was genuine. Seeing many people question this, the auctioneer explained, "Ladies and gentlemen, this high-level yuan force body cultivation technique is authentic, but it can't be disseminated. It has been recorded in a heritage bead with a soul array set up inside it. To learn this technique, you must swear an oath to cultivate it alone. Hence, its value is greatly reduced." The starting bid of 30 billion was decided after discussion within our martial pavilion. So that's how it is. Many people suddenly understood, and quickly lost interest. Many of those present were members of large forces and had channels to learn high-level yuan force body cultivation techniques. Although they too were bound by oaths, they could learn for free. But having to spend so much on this purple blood body cultivation technique was naturally disagreeable to them. However, lone wolves like Yi Tian were extremely excited and set their sights on the purple blood body cultivation technique, including some grandmaster-level martial artists. Seems like the competition is tough, Yi Tian observed the crowd and secretly thought. He was determined to acquire the purple blood body cultivation technique. In terms of financial capability, he believed he outclassed the average grandmaster. Purple blood body cultivation technique, from Zonghai Super Base. So, there really is something even greater than a large base. Yi Tian was highly interested in the concept of super bases. He even wondered how yuan force body cultivation techniques and high-level yuan force body cultivation techniques came into being. Initially, he thought they were created by large bases. But after coming to the large base, he realized that they didn't have the capability to create these techniques. Perhaps these were all crafted by super bases. Sadly, his status was not high enough. He knew only the name of the Zonghai Super Base and nothing else. How big has China become? How many large bases and super bases are there? How big is the entire Earth? A series of questions appeared in Yi Tian's mind, questions that awaited future exploration for answers. 35 billion, 38 billion, 40 billion, those bidding for the purple blood body cultivation technique were all grandmasters. Grandmasters had various ways to amass wealth and had unimaginable fortunes accumulated over time. A few hundred billion was nothing to them. Furthermore, the opportunity to obtain a high-level yuan force body cultivation technique was rare. Some grandmasters were reluctant to pledge allegiance to major forces, so they did not want to miss this chance. 80 billion, a shocking bid was announced. By this point, few were still bidding, as the auction price had soared too high. Grandmasters were indeed wealthy, but the resources required for their cultivation were also substantial. Grandmasters who had assets worth 100 billion were top-notch ones. These top-notch grandmasters generally already possessed high-level yuan force body cultivation techniques, and those wishing to purchase one generally had lesser financial means. Therefore, after the bidding reached 80 billion, they could no longer afford to compete. At this moment, Yi Tian made his move. 100 billion. A price that utterly crushed the hopes of other grandmasters was announced by Yi Tian. Whoosh, whoosh, the gazes of many martial artists converged on Yi Tian. He's the one who just spent 11 billion to purchase the cultivation insights of a king-level expert, and now he's spending another 100 billion to buy a high-tier yuan force body refinement technique. Just how wealthy is he? Many masters expressed their envy. Could he be the scion of some large family? Someone murmured. It's possible. Anyone who can spend over 100 billion at such a young age might be the descendant of a king-level expert. I really envy these rich second generations. They're born with endless resources to squander, unlike us who have to struggle for our lives, a master lamented. If they knew Yi Tian's true identity, that he wasn't a scion of some large family, they would undoubtedly be astonished. 100 billion was no small sum, so the other masters looked left and right, and reluctantly withdrew from the bidding. With that, Yi Tian successfully acquired the purple blood body refinement technique for the hefty sum of 100 billion, fulfilling his goal for attending the auction. freewebnovel.com. However, the auction wasn't over yet. The purple blood body refinement technique, although incredibly valuable, was not the grand finale. Soon, the true treasures were presented. Dragon blood vine juice, an item that enhances the chances of a great martial artist breaking through to the Grandmaster realm. Starting bid, 10 billion. The auctioneer announced. In an instant, the eyes of many great martial artists turned toward a small bottle of red liquid on the auction stage. A yellow-level item. Yi Tian activated his treasure-finding talent and saw the yellow glow emitted by the dragon blood vine juice, immediately determining that it belonged to the yellow tier. From the surrounding discussions, he also learned about its usefulness. It was a juice born from the dragon blood vine plant that could help great martial artists refine their meridians. Refining meridians was part of the process of reaching the Grandmaster realm. Thus, any great martial artist who wanted to break through to the Grandmaster realm could use dragon blood vine juice. While those with top-tier cultivation talents could easily succeed in refining their meridians and reach the Grandmaster realm, it was more difficult for those with high-tier talents. Their success rate was too low. Should the attempt to refine meridians fail, not only would the meridians be damaged, but even if repaired, the foundation would be undermined, making it difficult to advance to the Grandmaster realm for the rest of one's life. This was the dilemma of those with high-tier cultivation talents. However, with dragon blood vine juice, there was at least a 30% increase in the odds of success, making it a boon for great martial artists with high-tier talents. Moreover, among the grandmasters present, who didn't have a younger generation with high-tier cultivation talents? They all coveted this bottle of dragon blood vine juice. Cultivation items were the most valuable commodities of this age. Compared to so-called secret techniques, weapons, or experiences, cultivation items were more precious, especially those that could help break through bottlenecks. Their prices could be astronomical. In the midst of everyone's bidding, the dragon blood vine juice was eventually auctioned off for a high price of 60 billion and was acquired by a grandmaster. Following that, similar items appeared one after another, making the auction venue utterly boisterous. However, Yi Tian didn't make any further moves. These things were of no use to him. Suddenly, a new item appeared on the auction stage. Yi Tian tried to investigate it using his treasure-finding talent, but he failed. Clearly, the martial pavilion had blocked any form of probing. His treasure-finding talent was not omnipotent. For example, he wanted to probe the martial pavilion's treasury but couldn't. It was also shielded from any form of inquiry. Otherwise, the secrets of the martial pavilion would have been exposed long ago, and they wouldn't be able to do business. Pointing at the concealed item, the auctioneer said, "This auction item is a bit special. Even we in the martial pavilion can't identify it. But since it's consigned by someone else, we are auctioning it off with an initial price of 1 billion. Upon hearing this, all the martial artists became exceedingly curious. Yi Tian was also intrigued, extremely eager to know what this mysterious item was. Chapter 88. The Inconceivable Creature, the War-Blood Sky Dragon. Chapter 88. The Inconceivable Creature, the War-Blood Sky Dragon. What treasure could it be that it's so mysterious? Someone couldn't help but ask. The auctioneer lifted the cloth, revealing a box underneath. The box was taller than a person and was covered with an array of inscriptions, clearly arranged in some sort of formation. The auctioneer opened the box, and a gigantic egg appeared. The egg was entirely golden, pulsating with life, thereby proving that it was truly an egg, not merely a piece of gold. Is it a beast egg? Someone inquired with doubt. Why all the secrecy for a simple beast egg? It can't even be identified, which is quite odd. It is an egg, but we haven't sensed any beastly aura from it. Any beast would normally emit a certain aura, but this egg doesn't, the auctioneer explained. What's even more surprising is that this egg is extremely tough. Even a Grandmaster-level expert cannot break its shell, and a King-level expert cannot penetrate the shell to observe what's inside with their divine sense. If it weren't consigned for auction, we would have tried every means to crack it open. Since we can't identify it or know how to hatch it, we can't offer any guarantees to bidders. Therefore, the starting bid will only be 1 billion. Could it be the egg of some powerful creature? If it hatches, won't that be a huge gain? Someone exclaimed. Hey, maybe it's just metal with a life aura. Anything's possible. If it doesn't hatch, then it's just an ornament, someone chuckled. HMPH, no matter what, it has extraordinary value, a starting price of just 1 billion is nothing, another person said. Hee, then let's bid. The martial artists began to bid, starting from 1 billion and going up. Yi Tian stared at the egg, his eyes filled with astonishment. It was far from ordinary. Copy talent. Yi Tian tried to use his copy talent to investigate. If it were a beast egg, perhaps his copy talent could probe its inherent abilities, thereby revealing its origin. He thought it wouldn't work, but but a line of information appeared on his retina, proving it was indeed an egg, and it had a very imposing name. Species: War Blood Sky Dragon. Bloodline Talent. Strength Talent. Flight Talent. Speed Talent. Defense Talent. A series of talents completely dumbfounded Yi Tian. This was certainly the creature with the most talents he had ever encountered. No, it shouldn't be called a beast, but a dragon. This is a legendary dragon egg. These clueless people actually put it up for auction. Yi Tian disdainfully said. However, he didn't consider that, without his copy talent, would he have been able to discern the egg's origin. Regarding this question, Yi Tian conveniently ignored it. It's strange, why can't I see the levels of the talents? Could it be that they are too high? Yi Tian wondered to himself. But he quickly rejected that notion. With so many talents, it was impossible for all of them to be unviewable. If these talents truly exceeded the limits of his copy talent, then to what extent would this War Blood Sky Dragon be formidable? Could it destroy the earth with a single sneeze? According to Yi Tian's speculation, there was only one possibility. That was, the War Blood Sky Dragon had not fully incubated, and its innate talents had not completely formed. Only after its birth would its abilities be set in stone, a rule that all creatures must abide by. I have to buy it. A dragon with unlimited potential is far more awesome than Xiao Jin and Xiao Zi. In the future, I plan to give Xiao Jin and Xiao Zi to my sister as pets. Naturally, I must have a pet with unlimited potential, and this dragon fits the bill. Plus, it can fly. Riding it in the future would be so impressive. Yi Tian had set his sights on this dragon egg and participated in the auction without haste. Although the price of the dragon egg was not low, it quickly rose to 10 billion. However, there were plenty of wealthy tycoons who didn't care about this amount of money. 20 billion, 30 billion, 40 billion, 50 billion. In the end, the people participating in the auction were undoubtedly top-tier grandmasters. Only Yi Tian, a great warrior, was mixed in, which was somewhat strange. 80 billion. Yi Tian shouted a price that left people in despair. Some of the masters frowned, calculating whether the item was worth it or not. They had other treasures to bid on, and their real target wasn't this dragon egg. If they spent too much money on the dragon egg, it would be a loss if they couldn't win the items they actually wanted later on. Thus, the other grandmasters all gave up on bidding, and Yi Tian won the dragon egg. As for the auction of other treasures, Yi Tian did not participate. It wasn't that he lacked money, but those treasures weren't of much use to him. They were mostly auxiliary items for grandmaster level cultivators. The final item, a treasure capable of boosting a grandmaster's chance of breaking through to the king level by 50%, was auctioned off for a staggering 1 trillion, leaving everyone astonished. The auction concluded, and Yi Tian collected the 1 items, paid, and turned to leave. After leaving the Martial Guild headquarters, a few people who were interested in his identity followed him secretly. However, Yi Tian had already sensed their presence through spatial perception. He found a deserted corner and teleported away, shaking off these people. Upon returning home, Yi Tian took out the auctioned items. The most precious was undoubtedly the dragon egg. He studied it for a while but found nothing and set it aside for further research in the future. King level cultivation insights. Yi Tian took it out very carefully, slowly flipping through it. The document was quite thick and made of a very durable material, clearly the hide of a top-tier ferocious beast. It began from the stage of a martial artist and went all the way to the king level, clearly stating what to focus on at each level. It also provided many auxiliary methods for cultivation or breaking through bottlenecks. What interested Yi Tian the most were the precautions for breaking through to the grandmaster and king levels. To break through to the grandmaster level, one's cultivation must reach the extreme of a great warrior. The more stable the foundation, the higher the success rate. If the foundation is unstable, even if one has extraordinary talents for cultivation, it will be easy to become a grandmaster, but the success rate for breaking through to the king level will be reduced. Ordinarily, breaking through to the king level with extraordinary level cultivation talents should have a 100% success rate. However, almost all extraordinary level cultivators cannot create a perfect foundation, so the success rate is only 80%. An imperfect foundation will hinder further breakthroughs. Reading this, Yi Tian was utterly stunned. Even extraordinary level cultivators couldn't create a perfect foundation. What was going on? He continued reading and finally found the content on creating a perfect foundation. To build a perfect foundation, it must be done before reaching the Grandmaster level. Once the Grandmaster level is reached, the embryonic form of the foundation is set. If it's not a perfect foundation, it's impossible to build one later. To build a perfect foundation, one must break the limits in refining skin, flesh, bones, blood, as well as tempering the 5 viscera and 6 bowels. Breaking the limits. Yi Tian heard this for the first time. But as a king level, Typhoon King, there was definitely a basis to what he said. At this moment, Yi Tian felt fortunate to have come across this cultivation insight. Had he not seen it, he might have rushed to break through to the Grandmaster level soon, resulting in an incomplete foundation, and that would have been a regret for life. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 89. The Method to Forge a Perfect Foundation. Chapter 89. The Method to Forge a Perfect Foundation. How do I break through the limits? Yi Tian furrowed his brows. He too wanted to forge a perfect foundation, but even Typhoon King had said that it was difficult even for those with extraordinary cultivation talents to achieve this feat. At least, in the Demon Sea base, nobody had ever managed to break the limit and forge a perfect foundation. As for the super bases, perhaps some had, but they were exceedingly rare. Yi Tian continued reading and found that Hurricane King had listed several seemingly feasible solutions. The first method is to use various rare and precious natural resources to help break through the limits. However, this approach is too extravagant. Even a king-level practitioner shouldn't think of cultivating a genius with a perfect foundation. The second method is to use talents to break through the limits. Skin refining corresponds to defensive talents, flesh refining to strength talents, bone refining to skeletal talents, and blood exchange to blood-related talents. The internal organs are more complex and it's hard to find corresponding talents for them. You can use gravity to refine the frail internal organs, allowing them to shatter and then rebuild. During this process, precious healing medicine must be used to preserve vitality. Reading these two methods, Yi Tian was instantly thrilled. To others, the first method might have a chance of success, while the second was nearly impossible. This was because it was unlikely for one person to possess so many different talents, except for Yi Tian. He had the ability to copy talents and could copy a plethora of them. Therefore, he could try the second method, while the first was difficult for him to implement. As for how to use talents to break the limits, details were provided. 10 years ago, a genius with a top-tier blood flame talent broke through the limits of blood exchange in a short time while activating his blood flame talent, making his blood even stronger. By inference, if one has a top-tier defensive talent, refining the skin while activating this talent could potentially break the skin refining limit. The methods for breaking other limits are similar. Having read this, Yi Tian had thoroughly comprehended it. However, he couldn't try this method yet, as he didn't possess top-tier defensive, strength, bone, or blood talents. Collecting these 4 kinds of talents wasn't easy, and attempting to break the limits of skin, flesh, bones, and blood without them could lead to the collapse of the physical body. Only when other aspects had broken their limits, leaving the internal organs as the only weak point, could one attempt to break those limits under extremely high gravitational forces. This was the best method deduced. It seems I must copy top-tier defensive, strength, bone, and blood talents in the future. Yi Tian resolved. He could copy twice a month. If he was lucky, he could copy these top-tier talents and possibly forge a perfect foundation within 1 or 2 years. At present, the most likely to be completed was the top-tier strength talent, as his strength talent was already advanced. Even if he couldn't find a top-tier one, merging 2 high-tier strength talents might just forge a top-tier strength talent. First, I must cultivate. Only when my strength improves can I seek more talents, Yi Tian thought. Immediately, he took out the inheritance orb that contained the purple blood body refining technique. It was an high-tier origin force body refining technique, and replacing his mid-origin force body refining technique would further increase his cultivation speed. As his mental energy spread into it and after making an oath, he read the contents of the purple blood body refining technique. The inheritance orb shattered completely. The purple blood body refining technique isn't a complete set of movements, but a series of actions divided according to cultivation levels. Yi Tian was somewhat surprised. Purple blood flesh refining technique. Purple blood bone forging technique. Purple blood refining technique. Purple blood refining technique. Purple blood shockwave technique. Purple blood vein refining technique. Each refining technique was designed for a specific realm, forming individual cultivation methods far more sophisticated than the mid-tier elemental force body forging techniques. Yi Tian went through the purple blood body refining technique again, discovering that his skin, which could no longer be refined, could now be refined once more. However, after practicing it several more times, he could no longer refine it. Clearly, he had reached his true limit. Without breaking this limit, further refinement was impossible. Subsequently, Yi Tian tried refining his flesh, bones, and blood several times, strengthening his foundation. Finally, Yi Tian began practicing the purple blood shockwave technique. The purple blood shockwave technique used a set of movements to create shockwaves, resonating throughout the internal organs, thereby accelerating their refinement. According to Yi Tian's tests, the effects of the purple blood shockwave technique were twice as effective as the mid-tier elemental force body forging techniques. My physical strength has already reached 300,000 pounds. Coupled with ample high-grade beast blood, the purple blood body refining technique, and exceptional natural talents, I should reach the ultimate limit of a great martial artist in less than 2 months, Yi Tian speculated. In the following month, Yi Tian scarcely left the house, dedicating himself entirely to cultivation. A month later, Yi Tian's cultivation had significantly improved, with his physical strength reaching 680,000 pounds. Because the talent copying was on cooldown, Yi Tian wandered around the base in the Demon Sea for quite some time and finally found a high-tier defense talent, not copied from a human but from the pet of a genius. Apart from the high-tier defense talent, he also found a high-tier Vajra Bone talent, copied from a fierce beast called Vajra Beast. The Vajra Bone talent was similar to the defense talent, but it focused not on flesh but on bones. Once activated, it made one's bones incredibly strong, even capable of easily piercing steel with a finger bone. Even if someone were to break through his defense, they would still be stopped by the Vajra Bone, serving as a secondary defense, which also proved quite effective. While such talents didn't offer much in terms of combat power for Yi Tian, he still needed to copy them to create a perfect foundation. Once he encountered a few more high-tier Vajra Bone talents, the top-tier Vajra Bone talent would form. After copying the 2 talents, Yi Tian continued his cultivation. Another month passed, and Yi Tian's physical strength had reached the ultimate limit of a great martial artist, 1 million pounds. By this time, his power had also multiplied many times compared to 2 months ago. 1 million pounds equals the strength of 1 elephant. With the amplification of elemental force, it becomes 2 elephants, with the high-level strength talent amplification, it becomes 20 elephants. Coupled with the 6-fold increase of the Qingfeng slash, that would be 120 elephants, Yi Tian calculated his attack power and couldn't help but be amazed at himself. A great martial artist possessing an attack power of 120 elephants would be unbelievable if spoken out loud. Yi Tian's speed had also undergone a significant change. He had now reached an astonishing 120 times the speed of sound. Ordinarily, a great martial artist's speed would be at most 6 times the speed of sound, but he had top-level speed talent, which allowed a 20-fold increase, reaching 120 times the speed of sound. Yi Tian believed that even the pinnacle of grandmasters wouldn't exceed a few dozen times the speed of sound, while his own speed was second only to the king level. Having reached the limit of a great martial artist, the next step is to focus entirely on breaking that limit. Yi Tian was filled with fighting spirit and longing. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 90. The First Target. Chapter 90. The First Target. Refining one's skin was the first threshold Yi Tian needed to break. Consequently, he planned to create a top-tier defensive talent through a fusion process. Among humans, very few possessed such high-level defensive abilities, and no reports had come from the Demon Sea base about anyone having high-tier or top-tier defensive talents. The highest reported were only of medium level. However, ferocious beasts with high-tier and top-tier defensive abilities were not uncommon. Yi Tian realized that if he wanted to obtain high-tier or top-tier defensive talents, he would have to turn to these ferocious beasts for a solution. Last time I was lucky enough to encounter a beast with an high-tier defensive talent, Yi Tian mused. But luck can't last forever. It's impossible to find all 4 top-tier talents within the Demon Sea base. I must venture into the wilderness. Originally, Yi Tian had intended to enter the wilderness only after becoming a grandmaster, but now, to break his physical limitations and establish a perfect foundation, he had no choice but to leave the Demon Sea base. What relieved Yi Tian was that the Demon Sea base had much more detailed information about these ferocious beasts compared to the coastal base. Beasts with defensive, strength, indestructible bone, and bloodline talents were all meticulously recorded, and the varieties were plentiful. Yi Tian purchased this information and prepared to leave the Demon Sea base shortly. Before leaving, Yi Tian instructed Xiao Zi and Xiao Jin, "Both of you must protect Xiao Yu, understand?" Xiao Zi and Xiao Jin nodded vigorously, committing Yi Tian's command to memory. With Xiao Jin and Xiao Zi protecting his sister, he felt very at ease. Xiao Zi had already broken through to the top-tier ferocious beast level, and Xiao Jin was at the high-level ferocious beast limit. With their talents combined, they were more than capable of protecting his sister, Xiao Yu. Additionally, the Demon Sea base was very secure, he didn't worry about his sister's safety. One day, Yi Tian left the Demon Sea base. As he passed through the array gateway and entered the wilderness, 5 grandmasters followed him from a distance. 5 little rats. Yi Tian perceived the presence of the 5 grandmasters trailing him and couldn't help but smirk. He had already expected to be followed. After all, he had spent 190 billion at the Martial Pavilion auction, drawing a lot of attention. Although he had managed to shake off his pursuers at that time, a careful investigation would surely reveal his identity. Many must have investigated my background and found out I have no influential backing. They see me as a fat sheep ripe for the slaughter, Yi Tian reasoned. Those 5 grandmasters obviously intended to ambush him. Anyone else in his position would likely have been desperate, but not Yi Tian. He had the option to use teleportation or 120-fold supersonic speed to shake them off, but that would expose his top-tier speed and space talents. The second option was to eliminate these 5 grandmasters to get rid of the nuisance. After a mere second of contemplation, Yi Tian made his decision. I'll just eliminate them, he muttered to himself. Both parties seemed to have the same thought. Neither wanted to make a move near the Demon Sea base, fearing unforeseen complications. They both traveled farther and farther away from the base. Here is good. Yi Tian stopped in front of a forest called Yunhai Cloud Sea Forest, a place even larger than the Shaocheni Forest. It housed many top-tier ferocious beasts and even king-level ones. He chose to resolve the matter with the 5 rats trailing him here, making this their final resting place. Soon, the 5 grandmasters arrived. Now, Yi Tian commanded. The 5 grandmasters acted swiftly, unwilling to waste any time. Boom, boom, boom. Their immense auras seemed to pierce the heavens and the earth, launching an attack with overwhelming force. They moved at incredible speeds, nearly 20 times the speed of sound, far surpassing that of an ordinary martial artist. Facing such a coordinated attack, only Yun Feng, the top combat genius at the Demon Sea base, would have had a chance to counter. However, Yi Tian was a combat genius far surpassing Yun Feng. Ants, Yi Tian muttered under his breath and acted in an instant. Under the speed of 120 times the speed of sound, Yi Tian executed a lethal strike. Thud, thud, thud. Heads flew through the air. Like ordinary people, the 5 grandmasters were effortlessly killed by Yi Tian. Their headless bodies thudded to the ground. 5 storage bags, not bad, they'll allow me to carry more stuff. Yi Tian seized the 5 storage bags from the grandmasters and instantly vanished into the Cloud Sea Forest. Half a day later, a middle-aged man arrived, searching the surroundings and quickly locating the bodies of the 5 grandmasters. Killed in a single stroke, 5 grandmasters dead in one hit. Could a top-level grandmaster have done this? The middle-aged man was shocked. He himself was a top-level grandmaster and knew well the terrifying abilities of his peers. The dead grandmasters were merely ordinary ones, just a bit stronger than those who had recently advanced to that level. Against a top-level grandmaster, these 5 had no chance to even counter. Damn, I thought that having 5 grandmasters ambush a martial artist would be a cinch. Who would have thought they'd get killed? Could the young man have a top-level grandmaster protecting him secretly? Regret filled the middle-aged man. Had he known, he would have personally taken action. Now, he had lost 5 subordinates and gained nothing, clearly a significant loss. He cast a long, forlorn glance at the Cloud Sea Forest before sighing and giving up on pursuing Yi Tian. Too much time had passed, he had no way to locate him. He was able to find the corpses of the grandmasters only because of their wrist communicator locators. He buried the bodies of his 5 subordinates and left without delay. Within the Cloud Sea Forest, Yi Tian had searched for a long time. He found plenty of ferocious beasts but none with high-level or top-level defensive talents. According to the data, however, the Cloud Sea Forest was home to a wide variety of beasts, and the talents he needed could be found there. His spatial awareness extended, covering a range of 5,000 meters. This extended range was mainly because Yi Tian's cultivation had reached the peak for a martial artist, far surpassing his past abilities. As his cultivation improved, so did his spatial awareness. 5 days passed in a flash. Just when Yi Tian was furrowing his brows in frustration, a target beast appeared. Black Armor Bear. Yi Tian looked at a black armor bear more than 4,000 meters away and smiled. According to the information, the black armor bear possibly possessed high-level defensive and strength talents. It was a high-level ferocious beast and nearly the overlord among high-level beasts. If not for its speed falling short compared to top-level beasts, it could have dominated most of them. That's the one. freewebnovel.com. Yi Tian quickly chased after it. He needed to get within 600 meters of the black armor bear to initiate the copying process. Even though his cultivation had improved, this range had increased by only 100 meters, much to his chagrin. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 91, Breaking the Skin Refining Limit. Chapter 91, Breaking the Skin Refining Limit. Yi Tian moved at incredible speed, closing in on the black armored bear within 2 instances of teleportation. He stopped about 500 meters away from it, concealed himself in a large tree, and restrained his aura. He chose not to hunt down the bear immediately. First, copy. With a mere thought, Yi Tian duplicated the black armored bear's high-tier defensive talent and immediately began the process of integration. Merging the high-tier defensive talent wasn't painful for Yi Tian, his consciousness remained clear. Even if a ferocious beast attacked him at that moment, he could counterattack in time, ensuring his safety. 10 minutes passed. Yi Tian broke into a light sweat but successfully completed the integration of the high-tier defensive talent. I can feel it. I'm close to making this high-tier defensive talent evolve. My previous speculation must be correct. As soon as I collect 3 high-tier defensive talents, they can be merged into a top-level defensive talent, Yi Tian muttered to himself. At this moment, he was only missing 1 high-tier defensive talent to acquire a top-level one. Once he had that, he could attempt to break the 393 limit of skin refining. According to the data, black armored bears usually live in male-female pairs. The one I just encountered was male, there must be a female nearby. If I follow it, I might find the female and copy another talent. Then the first top-level defensive talent will essentially be within my grasp. Thus, Yi Tian sensed the location of the black armored bear. It had already run more than 4,000 meters away and was currently locked in combat with a gigantic serpent. This enormous serpent was a top-level ferocious beast, albeit a weaker one among its rank. While it was faster than the black armored bear, it didn't focus on constricting it. However, against a black armored bear with high-tier defensive talent, its strength was akin to tickling. In the end, the serpent was torn apart by the bear and died on the spot. The black armored bear then dragged the serpent's corpse in a particular direction. That serpent was unfortunate. Despite being a top-level beast, it got killed by a high-tier beast like the black armored bear. If it had tried to escape, the bear wouldn't have stood a chance. Choosing to engage in melee was simply suicidal, Yi Tian mused, frustrated at the serpent's lack of wisdom. Follow. Yi Tian teleported again, trailing the black armored bear. The bear had run several dozen kilometers before finally entering a mountain and a huge cave. Yi Tian didn't go in but used his copying ability to completely envelop the other black armored bear inside the cave. Species: black armored bear. Bloodline talent: high tier. Strength talent: high tier. Defensive talent: high tier. As expected, there is a female black armored bear. Excited, Yi Tian wasted no time in duplicating the female bear's high-tier defensive talent. After successfully copying it, he didn't rush to integrate it but entered the cave. I apologize, but I'd like your high-tier strength talents too. Since I can't copy it right now, I have no choice but to kill you both and keep your corpses to copy it in a month, Yi Tian mentally conveyed to the bears. Killing beasts didn't make him feel guilty, humans were the real innocents here. Once living peacefully on Earth, they had their lives turned upside down overnight when spatial rifts appeared and unleashed countless ferocious beasts, killing untold numbers of humans. Over the past century, even more had died. Therefore, he felt no sympathy for the beasts. Kill. A one-sided battle ensued. The black armored bears were neither as strong nor as fast as Yi Tian. In a flash, Yi Tian pierced one's eye and shattered its brain, killing it instantly. Gazing at the corpses of the 2 black armored bears, Yi Tian stored them in his portable space. By now, his portable space had expanded once more with the advancement of his cultivation, reaching a capacity of 200 cubic meters. In addition, over these 2 months, Yi Tian had made several trips to the Wuge, selling many treasures. The space he carried with him had also been cleared up substantially, enough to accommodate the bodies of 2 black armored bears. After storing the bodies of the black armored bears, Yi Tian began to merge with the high-level defensive talent within the den of the bears. Merge. With a thought, a powerful force surged forth. In an instant, Yi Tian felt as if his skin had been torn apart countless times and then healed countless times, a sensation of excruciating pain. Merging the high-level defensive talent into top-level defensive talent was more painful than Yi Tian had imagined, but he could still bear it. After an indeterminate amount of time, Yi Tian felt the pain subside, leaving him in a state of extreme exhilaration. Phew, Yi Tian exhaled a turbid breath and promptly checked the status of his talent. Defensive talent, top level. Seeing that his defensive talent had become top level, Yi Tian grinned widely. His next goal was to elevate his strength talent from high level to top level. This aim was almost within reach, as he had already obtained the bodies of the black armored bears. In a month, he could replicate 2 more high-level strength talents, transforming his high-level strength talent into a top-level one, subsequently skyrocketing his own capabilities. With his defensive talent now top-level, breaking the skin refining limit would be the next test. I hope Typhoon King's guess was correct. Yi Tian hoped. Defensive talent. Yi Tian activated his defensive talent, and his defense instantly increased by 20-fold. Even most grandmasters wouldn't be able to breach his defenses easily. Begin practicing purple blood body refining technique. Yi Tian adopted a series of postures, drawing in massive amounts of worldly essence to temper his skin, a tingling sensation flooding his senses. This feeling, Yi Tian was immediately elated. This was tempering. Yes, he felt his skin being tempered, and the effect was excellent. The skin, which had reached its tempering limit, was being tempered again, proving that Typhoon King's guess had been correct. Top-level talents could indeed help break bodily limits. This pace is too slow. At this rate, breaking the bodily limit would take at least 2 months, Yi Tian estimated. He then drank a mouthful of high-level ferocious beast blood and resumed practicing the purple blood body refining technique to temper his skin. Now, his cultivation speed had doubled, allowing him to break the skin refining limit within a month. 1 month is about right. I'll cultivate here for this month. My sister has grown, it's time for her to live independently. I can't take care of her forever. Having reached this conclusion, Yi Tian set his mind at ease and continued his cultivation. Day by day, he practiced, tempering his skin daily. With each passing day, Yi Tian could feel the transformation of his skin. Although his defensive strength didn't increase, the fundamental quality of his skin did, which was the most important aspect. On the 26th day of his practice, Yi Tian finally felt a certain invisible constraint within the realm of skin refining. After gulping down dozens of portions of high-level ferocious beast blood, Yi Tian desperately practiced the purple blood body refining technique, madly tempering his skin and challenging the invisible constraints. He didn't know how many times he had tried or how much time had passed. Suddenly, the constraint broke. Countless amounts of worldly essence flooded into Yi Tian's body, tempering his skin and completing the final step of transformation. At this moment, Yi Tian realized that he had completely shattered the limit, elevating his skin refining to a new level. freewebnovel.com. -- For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 92, a 100-fold increase to the limit. Let's test the defensive capabilities. Yi Tian tested it out and found that his defensive abilities hadn't changed much compared to before. However, without using his healing talents, his skin recovered much faster. Strange, could breaking through the skin refining realm only improve my skin's recovery rate? Yi Tian wondered aloud. Then, he reactivated his defensive talent. At that moment, a unique sensation emerged. It seemed that his defensive talent was merging with his skin in some special way, as if being branded onto it. He had a feeling that if this merging continued, his top-level defensive talent would undergo massive changes, perhaps even an earth-shattering transformation. Typhoon King never mentioned this. Maybe it's because he never broke his own limits. He only knew that some people had broken the limits in terms of blood, making their blood much stronger, unlike that of ordinary people, as if it had been replaced. But he never broke any limits himself, so he's not aware of what happens after. It's all hearsay. Yi Tian knew he couldn't rely on Typhoon King's experience and had to figure it out himself. But he had some inklings, wondering if his top-level defensive talent would break its own limits and ascend to a new level after the merging. For the many months he had been at the Demon Sea base, he had heard about transcendental cultivation talents that were above top-level cultivation talents, but never of any transcendental special talents. Many even thought that top-level special talents were the limit. But Yi Tian speculated that top-level special talents surely weren't the limit, although breaking that limit would undoubtedly be difficult. If it weren't difficult, it wouldn't be called a limit. Top-level strength talents could amplify one's strength by 20 times. If one were to break those limits, wouldn't the amplification be 50 times or even more? That would be insane. So, the level above top-level special talents was incredibly hard to break through. Even among beasts, few possessed talents beyond top level. If a beast with a talent beyond top level were to appear, it could certainly kill enemies 2 major realms higher than itself. I wonder when my defensive talent will truly merge with my skin. Maybe only after I've built a perfect foundation will I know whether my talent can ascend. Yi Tian stopped pondering the issue and instead focused on consolidating his newly transformed skin-refining realm, before immersing himself in comprehending his sword intent. When he couldn't increase his cultivation or strength, understanding sword intent was his main task. Now, his sword intent had reached 10%. His sword intent could kill souls and even attack ordinary martial artists from hundreds of meters away, although it had little effect on peers. However, sword intent did amplify his sword skills, even intimidating enemies. Once integrated with sword intent, his sword skills became more versatile. Thus, he would not give up comprehending sword intent. Especially since sword intent was key to understanding sword techniques. His bronze-level sword techniques were already perfected and required no further comprehension, but for silver-level sword techniques, he needed to reach 20% sword intent. To reach the minor mastery of silver-level sword techniques, 30% was required, for major mastery, 40%, and for perfection, 60%. Because his sword intent wasn't enough, Yi Tian hadn't sought out silver-level sword techniques. Sword techniques must be cultivated. This special method that can be stacked with strength is terrifying. Without the amplification of sword techniques, I couldn't possibly have such great offensive power. Moreover, sword techniques and strength talents must be the only 2 means that can be stacked. I can't give it up. Yi Tian continued to delve into sword intent, as various profundities about the sword gradually revealed themselves. In a blink, 4 days had passed. His sword intent had only slightly improved, reaching perhaps 11%. It's time to duplicate the strength talents. Yi Tian took out the corpses of 2 black armored bears. The bodies, stored in his spatial ring, showed no signs of decay, just like before. Immediately afterward, Yi Tian duplicated their high-level strength talents. Undergoing the talent fusion twice in a row, Yi Tian felt even more agony than before. The successive mergers of 2 talents had made Yi Tian's pain even more unbearable than before. Fortunately, after the pain, his talent for strength underwent a transformation. Strength talent. Top tier. Upon seeing that his talent for strength had become top tier, Yi Tian became genuinely excited. This was a direct means of increasing his attack power. Top tier talent and strength can amplify my attack power by 20 times, while the Qingfeng slash can amplify it by 6 times. If both the talent and the technique can be stacked, wouldn't that result in a 120-fold increase in attack power? The mere thought of this made Yi Tian's breathing quicken. A 120-fold increase in attack power, what a staggering concept. Let's try it. freewebnovel.com. Yi Tian couldn't wait to begin his experiment. Outside the cave, activate top-tier talent and strength. Qingfeng slash. With a thunderous boom, Yi Tian unleashed his sword, immediately creating a giant trench stretching for kilometers on the ground. Countless trees along its path were pulverized into dust. If someone were to pour water into the trench, it might even form a small river. Such destructive power was already astonishing, but Yi Tian's brow furrowed. It's not a 120-fold increase, just a 100-fold increase. It's as if some unseen limit prevents me from going beyond 100-fold. Could it be that 100-fold is the upper limit? Yi Tian didn't believe this was the ultimate limit, he simply hadn't broken through it yet. After all, he now knew that so-called limits could be broken, it all depended on whether you had the capability to do so. I can definitely break this limit, I just don't know how yet. Let's leave that aside for now and focus on building a perfect foundation. A 100-fold increase in attack power is already enough to revolutionize my abilities, Yi Tian said contentedly. He quickly calculated his attack power. His physical strength was the force of 1 elephant, augmented by elemental force to become 2 elephants, and after the stacking of his top-tier strength talent and sword technique, it could reach 200 elephants. The ultimate attack force of an ordinary grandmaster was no more than 200 elephants, which meant Yi Tian's attack power had reached the limit of an ordinary grandmaster. As it stands, I am equal to the pinnacle of an ordinary grandmaster, and I'm even faster. Aside from those grandmasters with special attack talents who are stronger than me, there's no need to fear grandmasters now, Yi Tian declared with full confidence. Yi Tian hadn't forgotten the most important task. He still needed to break the limit of body refinement. Strength talent, purple blood body refining technique. Boom! A massive influx of elemental energy flooded into Yi Tian's body, tempering his muscles once again, and the tingling sensation reappeared. He could still refine his physical realm, just like the skin refining realm. Yi Tian estimated that, if he used the blood of high-level ferocious beasts to assist in his cultivation, he could probably break through the limit of body refinement in less than a month. Then let the insane cultivation begin. Yi Tian started his frenzied, relentless training. In the blink of an eye, 28 days had passed. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter. Chapter 93. Temporary team and news of the Diamond Beast. Just like the last time when he faced the shackles of skin refinement, Yi Tian had now encountered the shackles of flesh refinement. Within a few hours, Yi Tian broke through these barriers, successfully surpassing the limitations of refining his flesh. Indeed, my strength talent is merging with my muscles, albeit slowly. I suppose I'll only know what's happening once I've fully established a perfect foundation, Yi Tian mused to himself. At present, his talents for strength and defense had reached the peak levels. He had also broken through the limitations of refining skin and flesh. Next, he aimed to find higher level or peak level bone talents. However, such talents were difficult to find because they were exceedingly rare, only a handful of ferocious beasts possessed them. Among them was the Diamond Beast. Diamond Beasts usually live in groups. If I find a group of them, I can assimilate a top-tier diamond bone talent. However, finding such a group in the vast Cloud Sea Yunhai forest is difficult, especially considering the presence of king-level beings deep within. If the diamond beasts reside there, it's unlikely that I'll be able to acquire their bone talent. But, there's still hope. Someone once captured a diamond beast in Yunhai forest, Yi Tian contemplated. Left with no other options, Yi Tian had to pin his hopes on the diamond bone talent of the diamond beasts. He already possessed a high-level diamond bone talent. Duplicating it twice would achieve his goal, making it far easier than searching for another type of high-level bone talent. Next, Yi Tian embarked on a journey to find the diamond beasts. However, on the third day, he ran into a group of people. The group comprised around 40 individuals, including 5 grandmasters and 35 peak martial artists. These 5 grandmasters were not ordinary, they were considerably more powerful than the ones Yi Tian had killed last time. Within the group of 35 peak martial artists, a few displayed talents for offensive abilities, making them a formidable force. Nevertheless, Yi Tian could sense disharmony among them, complete lack of discipline, and noticed that they seemed to be searching for something. Hoping to acquire information about the diamond beasts from them, Yi Tian deliberately crossed paths with the group. Halt! A grandmaster shouted upon noticing Yi Tian. What is it? I'm busy searching for diamond beasts, Yi Tian feigned. Searching for diamond beasts. Several grandmasters perked up, chuckling. You, a peak martial artist, aim to tackle a diamond beast. They're incredibly hard to kill and have high-level diamond bone talent. One slap from them could reduce you to dust. I have my methods, Yi Tian confidently responded. Really, do you have any special talents? Our team is short of members. We're about to confront a formidable beast king. According to intelligence, this beast king has a few diamond beasts under it, one of the grandmasters said. Is that true? Yi Tian inquired, skeptical. Of course it's true. Why would I lie to a peak martial artist like you? However, if your skills are lacking, you won't qualify to join us, another grandmaster added. Whoosh! Yi Tian demonstrated his speed, although he only showed 18-fold acceleration, equivalent to an basic speed talent. Basic speed talent, not bad. You're qualified to join us, exclaimed the 5 grandmasters in unison. With such a talent, and being a peak martial artist, Yi Tian was deemed capable enough to handle a plethora of high-level ferocious beasts. They were going to confront a beast king that commanded numerous high-level beasts, leaving the high-level beasts for the martial artists to tackle. Beast king, could it be a king-level entity? Yi Tian questioned. Of course, he was quite certain that the beast king they were talking about wasn't king-level. If it were, this group wouldn't dare to confront it and would have fled long ago. He had asked on purpose. How could it possibly be the Beast King? If it were the Beast King, all of us together would still be no match for him. Little guy, don't worry. The strength of the 5 of us grandmasters is more than enough to deal with the Beast King. You'll be safe, I assure you. Once this is over, we'll give you treasures worth 5 billion. Several grandmasters promised. 5 billion. For a great warrior, this was certainly a huge sum. Few would turn down such an amount. However, Yi Tian didn't believe that these grandmasters would actually fork over 5 billion. He knew that the total cost for all these great warriors added up would be over 100 billion, would the 5 grandmasters really be willing to spend that much? Any intelligent person could see through it, yet the other great warriors dared not decline the offer. If I don't join, they won't be so polite, they might even attack me, Yi Tian mused to himself with a cold smile. But his objective was the diamond beast. If this group could actually lead him to it, then joining them would be beneficial. Moreover, Yi Tian had a hunch that the grandmasters were not entirely untruthful. The Beast King might indeed have a few diamond beasts under his command. I'm willing to join, Yi Tian nodded. Congratulations on joining our temporary alliance. Keep up, the grandmasters said with smiles. The team moved on, searching for other warriors. Soon, 3 days had passed. The 5 grandmasters found another 5 peak-level great warriors, but had not recruited any more grandmasters. Whenever they encountered another grandmaster, they'd use their mental energy to warn them off, avoiding any meeting. Clearly, they didn't want to share the presence of the Beast King with any other grandmasters. It's about time, let's move, one of the grandmasters declared. Immediately, the team headed deeper into the Cloud Sea Forest. After running for about a day, they finally arrived at a valley. Led by the 5 grandmasters, the other peak-level great warriors followed them into the valley. Boom! A horde of fierce beasts charged at them. Most were mid-level fierce beasts, and there were various kinds. These creatures would not normally live together, clearly, a more powerful beast had united them. That powerful beast was the Beast King the grandmasters intended to confront. Take action, one of the grandmasters ordered. freewebnovel.com. Obviously, the 5 grandmasters were not going to deal with these mid-level fierce beasts themselves. Swish, swish, swish. The great warriors rushed in and quickly eliminated the mid-level beasts. Just then, a powerful aura spread. Behind it came the aura of many high-level fierce beasts. Clearly, the Beast King had arrived with his elite subordinates. In an instant, the Beast King appeared before them. Yi Tian's talent for copying also enveloped an area of 600 meters, allowing him to assess the Beast King's abilities. Upon seeing them, he was utterly stunned. It's actually. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter. Chapter 94. A Juvenile King Beast. Species. Swift Dragon Beast. Bloodline Talent. Extraordinary. Defensive Talent. Basic. Strength Talent. Basic. Speed Talent. Basic. Observing the talents of this Beast King, Yi Tian finally understood the origins of the creature they were facing. It was undeniably a juvenile king beast. Before arriving, Yi Tian had studied many types of ferocious beasts, including the swift dragon beast. This was a creature with an extraordinary level bloodline talent. Once it fully matured, there was a high probability it would become a king beast, comparable to human king-level fighters. The swift dragon beast they faced had only recently ascended to the pinnacle of fierce beasts, but with its basic level talents in defense, strength, and speed, it wasn't going to be easy to deal with. Yi Tian could handle the swift dragon beast himself, but the 5 grandmasters would have to pay a certain price to deal with it. No wonder these 5 people have gathered so many martial artists. They probably can't afford to be distracted if they have to face the swift dragon beast. Moreover, the other high-level beasts are not weak, some even possess special talents. If all attack them at once, they would be in trouble, Yi Tian thought to himself. Boom! The 5 grandmasters clashed with the swift dragon beast, and neither side gained an upper hand. The other martial artists fended off the remaining high-level beasts while Yi Tian fought one but chose not to kill it. 097 At this moment, Yi Tian was looking for a diamond beast. There were no fewer than 100 high-level beasts. Quickly, Yi Tian identified 3 diamond beasts from the talent information he'd replicated. These 3 were so formidable that they pushed back 3 martial artists who possessed special talents. The diamond beasts had incredibly durable bones. Even attacks comparable to a grandmaster's could only pierce their flesh and couldn't penetrate their bodies. Their palms were also extremely hard, comparable to powerful elemental weapons, easily shattering the weapons of the martial artists. Such high-level diamond bone talent was terrifying indeed. Yi Tian covertly copied the high-level diamond bone talent from 2 of the diamond beasts and then lost interest in them. Before long, martial artists began to die off, dramatically reducing their numbers. These martial artists are doomed, Yi Tian silently shook his head. However, the 5 grandmasters didn't care about the lives of the martial artists. As long as they could kill the swift dragon beast in time, the other high-level beasts wouldn't pose a threat. And if all the martial artists died, that was exactly what they hoped for. They couldn't be happier. Quickly use that thing, these small fry can't hold on much longer. If they all die, we'll have to face a large number of high-level beasts, one of the grandmasters transmitted through his consciousness. Another grandmaster understood and quickly took out something resembling a syringe. In the next instant, he collided with the swift dragon beast and, at the cost of being knocked away, successfully injected the syringe into the creature, piercing its skin. The defense of the swift dragon beast was remarkably strong, endowed with basic defensive talent. However, the needle was made of a special metal and, amplified by elemental forces, had powerful penetrating ability, breaking through the beast's defenses. freewebnovel.com. Inside the syringe was a very special anesthetic made from a mixture of numerous natural treasures. It could virtually anesthetize most high-level beasts unless they had a poison-resistant talent. We did it, the 5 grandmasters exclaimed in excitement. They had actually prepared several syringes, all carried by the grandmaster with low-speed talent. They didn't expect to succeed on the first try, but the swift dragon beast had let down its guard and was successfully injected. Not far away, Yi Tian witnessed the entire scene, a realization dawning on him. So they're not aiming to kill the swift dragon beast, but rather to capture it. Many grandmasters capture top-tier ferocious beasts to sell, and that's how the Demon Sea base gets a lot of its beasts. A young king beast is unimaginably valuable, no wonder they're here to capture it. If the capture of a young king beast were successful, sacrificing 100 or even 1,000 elite warriors would be worth it. Once they controlled this young king beast, they'd essentially hold the reins to a future king beast, sufficient to rejuvenate a major clan. Even Yi Tian might not be able to afford such a young king beast. However, Yi Tian had no interest in capturing the young king beast. First, he currently had no need for money, and second, capturing a young king beast would undoubtedly offend not only the young king beast itself but also the true king beast behind it. Capturing a young king beast could easily provoke a swarm of beasts. It was said that 40 years ago, the capture of a young king beast enraged a terrifying king beast, which nearly led an army of king beasts and top-tier ferocious beasts to break through the Demon Sea base. That battle resulted in the death of Typhoon King and more than 5 other powerful king-level warriors, not to mention countless grandmasters. A swift dragon beast might be on the weaker side among king beasts, but angering one was not a good idea. He might sell the young king beast only to be betrayed later. If a swarm of beasts did emerge, he could be scapegoated. Therefore, even if he killed the young king beast, he couldn't take it back to the Demon Sea base. It had to be said, the 5 grandmasters were daring, willing to capture a young king beast. Maybe they planned to make their fortunes and then flee to other major bases. Soon enough, the swift dragon beast could no longer resist the effects of the anesthesia and collapsed. The 5 grandmasters were overjoyed. Let's finish off the other ferocious beasts. They immediately began slaughtering the remaining high-level beasts. In a short time, nearly all were killed, with only a few managing to escape. We survived, a one-handed elite warrior rejoiced. But before he could catch his breath, a sword slit his throat. In his dying moments, he saw a familiar figure, one of the 5 grandmasters. Alas, he was dead and had no chance to ask why they had killed him. The remaining elite warriors were terrified, already guessing what was to come. I'll give up the 50 billion, just let me go. I'm from the Hong family of Demon Sea base, you'll not get away with killing me. I don't want to die, I'll serve you, please let me go. No matter how the few elite warriors begged, threatened, or compromised, they couldn't change the decision of the 5 grandmasters. Doesn't matter who you are, our business with the swift dragon beast must remain a secret, you all must die. One grandmaster spoke somberly. In an instant, the remaining elite warriors tried to flee in different directions. However, a grandmaster with a low-speed talent easily and swiftly killed them. Finally, only Yi Tian remained. Kid, you have a basic speed talent. You might have a slim chance of escaping. Why aren't you running? The 5 grandmasters curiously looked at Yi Tian. Yi Tian opened his mouth, revealing his pearly white teeth, and said innocently, because I can kill you all. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter. Chapter 95. The Dragon Beast's Blood is Stolen. Kill us. The 5 grandmasters burst into derisive laughter upon hearing this. Had the young man before them gone mad? A mere great warrior thinking he could kill 5 grandmasters. It was important to note that they were not weak grandmasters. Even Yun Feng, the top fighting genius of the Demon Sea Base, couldn't kill them. Encountering them meant that escape was hardly an option. On what grounds could Yi Tian kill them? A deranged fool. Who will go and kill him? One of the grandmasters asked. Whoosh! Another grandmaster struck out, delivering a punch. All of a sudden, the grandmaster's body froze, and he was cut in half, his corpse falling to the ground. He killed Tai Lin with 1 slash. The 4 remaining grandmasters mumbled in disbelief. This wasn't an ordinary warrior, this was a strong grandmaster. Even a great warrior wielding a source weapon couldn't inflict much harm on a grandmaster, yet Yi Tian had instantly killed one with a single slash. Damn it, let's go, kill him. The 4 grandmasters roared in anger. However, for Yi Tian, it made no difference whether it was 1 grandmaster or 4. Shadow kill. Yi Tian exhibited speed at 120 times the speed of sound and slashed quickly. freewebnovel.com. Under the state of 120 times the speed of sound, the 4 grandmasters seemed as slow as crawling infants. Thump, 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 thump. 1 slash per grandmaster, 4 slashes killed the 4 grandmasters. These 4 didn't even register their deaths before Yi Tian severed their brains, killing them instantly. Having killed the 5 grandmasters, Yi Tian took the storage bags from their bodies. This swift dragon beast. Yi Tian pondered for a moment, then with a single slash, killed the swift dragon beast. Next, Yi Tian collected its blood. This was top-grade ferocious beast blood, and it was from a young king beast. The quality of its blood was much better than other top-grade ferocious beasts, ideal for body refinement and quite a harvest. 1,000 portions of top-grade ferocious beast blood, a good haul. Yi Tian expressed satisfaction. As for the corpse, he didn't bother to take it. After all, the body of a top-grade beast wasn't worth much, and this swift dragon beast didn't have any special talents. Keeping the corpse, which was more than 30 meters long, would only occupy space in his storage bag. Thus, Yi Tian abandoned the corpse of the swift dragon beast and walked away. 3 hours after Yi Tian left, a terrifying swift dragon beast, measuring up to 100 meters long, arrived in the valley. It was a king-level swift dragon beast. Upon seeing the corpse of the young swift dragon beast, it immediately went berserk. Roar! An aura of terrifying ferocity enveloped the area for hundreds of miles. Find the humans, kill them. The king-level swift dragon beast issued orders to numerous ferocious beasts. Yi Tian, who had already traveled far, sensed the change in the atmosphere of the Yunhai forest. A suffocating aura loomed over the area. It must be because of the swift dragon beast. I should leave the Yunhai forest to avoid trouble. Yi Tian made a snap decision and quickly left the Yunhai forest. That day, many human warriors in the Yunhai forest were attacked by ferocious beasts, and the king-level swift dragon beast personally took action, killing quite a few grandmasters. In the end, a king-level expert from the Sea of Demons base had personally arrived and engaged in a fierce battle with the swift dragon beast. The conflict concluded with the retreat of the swift dragon beast. As for a beast tide, it never happened. After all, the swift dragon beast's influence in the Cloud Sea forest was too minor. It didn't have the authority to initiate a beast tide, only the capability to hunt humans within the forest. Leaving the Cloud Sea forest, Yi Tian found a mountain peak and carved out a temporary cave dwelling there. Inside the dwelling, he began to merge 2 higher-level diamond bone talents. Merge. One after another, Yi Tian integrated the 2 replicated higher-level diamond bone talents into himself. Boom! It felt as if his bones were being torn apart countless times. Anyone else would have fainted from the pain, but Yi Tian, having experienced numerous talent mergers, forcibly endured it. About half an hour passed. The merging was complete, and Yi Tian was thoroughly soaked in sweat. Check. Data about his talents appeared on Yi Tian's retina. As he expected, his diamond bone talent had undergone a transformation. Diamond bone talent. Top tier. Finally, I've elevated my diamond bone talent to top tier. Now, I'm only missing a top-tier bloodline talent, Yi Tian sighed in relief. Originally, he was worried about whether he could collect top-tier talents related to defense, strength, bones, and bloodlines in a short period. Now that he had completed 3, he naturally stopped worrying. One step closer to perfecting his foundation. I won't rush the bloodline talent for now. First, let's break the bone refining limit, Yi Tian planned. After resting for half a day and fully recovering his strength, Yi Tian began practicing the purple blood bone forming technique. However, just as he was about to take out the swift dragon beast's blood to assist in his practice, he was utterly dumbfounded. Where is my swift dragon beast's blood? Yi Tian searched through his personal space repeatedly but found no trace of the swift dragon beast's blood. The bottle that had contained it was mysteriously empty. This can't be. Even if the bottle cap had accidentally come off, the blood would have spilled onto the floor of my personal space. It wouldn't have disappeared, Yi Tian puzzled. This situation was too strange. If he didn't resolve it, how could he dare to keep treasures in his personal space? After scanning with his spiritual sense several times, Yi Tian finally focused his gaze on the dragon egg. This dragon egg's vitality has greatly increased, and its golden color is much richer. Could it be? Yi Tian considered a possibility. His 1,000 portions of swift dragon beast's blood were consumed by the dragon egg. I understand now. Yi Tian had an epiphany. Since the swift dragon beast had dragon in its name, perhaps it had dragon blood, and the war blood sky dragon egg, which hadn't hatched yet, might need dragon power. The swift dragon beast's blood had precisely that power and was therefore consumed by the war blood sky dragon egg. Suddenly, Yi Tian thought of a possibility. If he continuously fed the egg blood from fierce beasts with dragon bloodlines, could he hatch the war blood sky dragon? The war blood sky dragon possesses 10 special talents, one of which seems to be a bloodline talent, Yi Tian thought. To confirm, he checked once more using his talent replication skill. Devouring blood talent. Since the war blood sky dragon had not been born yet, the level of its devouring blood talent remained unknown. What if it were a top-tier talent? In that case, he wouldn't need to search for the war blood sky dragon, he could directly replicate its devouring blood talent. With that, all 4 top-tier talents would be gathered. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter. Chapter 96. Slaughtering the Dragon Serpent Beast Horde. Chapter 96. Slaughtering the Dragon Serpent Beast Horde. We could give it a try. Beasts with dragon bloodlines aren't rare, it's just that the dragon bloodline in them is diluted. I recall reading that not too far from the Demon Sea base there's a group of high-level beasts with dragon bloodlines. If we eliminate that group and use their blood to nourish the war blood sky dragon egg, it should be able to hatch, Yi Tian speculated. Accordingly, he planned to locate this group of high-level beasts after breaking through the bone refining limit. For the next month, Yi Tian stayed put in his temporary cave dwelling, focusing on practicing the purple blood bone forging technique and pondering over blade intent. After expending a significant amount of high-level beast blood and nearly 29 days of time, Yi Tian finally broke through the bone refining limit. His entire skeleton seemed to come to life, and his diamond bone talent slowly began to merge with all the bones in his body. Skin refining, flesh refining, bone refining. He broke through the limits in all 3 aspects of his body. Now all that remained was to break through the blood refining limit and reach the blood replacement transformation stage to complete the most crucial foundation of the 950 system. Then, all that would be left would be to break the limits of his 5 internal organs and 6 hollow organs. It's time to find that group of high-level beasts imbued with dragon bloodlines, Yi Tian muttered to himself. In a canyon 8,000 kilometers west of the Demon Sea base, lived a large group of beasts that had emerged from underground, known as dragon serpent beasts. These beasts possessed snake-like bodies and 4 claws but lacked the so-called dragon head and dragon horns. However, their strength was formidable, earning them the designation of high-level beasts. Among them were some extremely rare top-level beasts, but their numbers were scarce, fewer than 20. Because dragon serpent beasts were relatively small, about 1 meter in size, they couldn't provide much blood, and their corpses were not highly valued. Hence, no powerful masters or king-level beings had bothered to exterminate them. That day, Yi Tian arrived at the canyon. As soon as he entered, about a dozen dragon serpent beasts discovered him and attacked. With a slight pinch, Yi Tian killed one of the dragon serpent beasts. Next, he took out the war blood sky dragon egg and dripped the dragon serpent beast's blood onto its shell. It has to work, Yi Tian hoped. Whoosh! A golden light flashed, and the dragon serpent beast's blood on the eggshell was absorbed. It really worked. Yi Tian was thrilled. Immediately, he put away the war blood sky dragon egg and began to frenziedly hunt the dragon serpent beasts. Kill, kill, kill. With each kill, Yi Tian collected the blood and stored it in his portable space. Eventually, there was no time to collect the blood anymore. So, Yi Tian dug a pit in the canyon, throwing the corpses of the dragon serpent beasts into it. A pool of blood formed. Top-level dragon serpent beasts are coming. Yi Tian whispered to himself. Whoosh, 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 beams of light shot over, each carrying an overwhelming killing intent. Each beam represented a top-level beast, and there were more than 20 of them in total. In terms of strength, each top-level beast was stronger than an ordinary master, and 20 or so could match a powerful master. But Yi Tian was as strong as an extreme-level ordinary master. No matter how many top-level dragon serpent beasts there were, all would die. Boom! With his azure wind slash, Yi Tian mowed down the top-level dragon serpent beasts like cutting grass, their corpses falling to the ground. For half a day, Yi Tian continued slaughtering the dragon serpent beasts until none were left in the canyon. Phew, thank goodness I have the medium-level endurance talent copied from Xiao Jin, otherwise, I would have been drained by now, Yi Tian gasped for air. Subsequently, Yi Tian gathered the dragon serpent beast blood into one massive pool. Go! He threw the war blood sky dragon egg into the pool. Whoosh! A whirlpool appeared in the pool, with the dragon serpent beast's blood converging toward the center, precisely where the war blood sky dragon egg lay. freewebnovel.com. The war blood sky dragon egg has an insane blood-absorbing ability. Could this be the effect of the blood-devouring talent? Yi Tian speculated. Originally, the pool was filled with dragon serpent beast's blood, but in less than 10 minutes, the war blood sky dragon egg had absorbed it all. At this point, the egg emanated a powerful dragon aura. Compared to its previously mundane appearance, it now truly resembled a dragon egg. If the Martial Pavilion had auctioned off an egg like this, they might never have offered it in the first place. Even if they had, I couldn't have afforded it. Perhaps only king-level experts would have had the chance to bid, Yi Tian mused gratefully. Having absorbed a massive amount of dragon serpent beast's blood, the war blood sky dragon egg seemed to genuinely begin incubating. Yi Tian could distinctly sense that the life force within the egg was slowly rising. Previously, although there had been signs of life force, there had been no increase. But now, as the life force was rising, it indicated that the egg had truly come alive and was capable of birthing life. It shouldn't be too long before this egg can incubate a war blood sky dragon, Yi Tian estimated. However, there was still an issue to be resolved: how to control this war blood sky dragon. After all, this would be a real dragon. If he couldn't control it after it was born, and it ran away, wouldn't that be a loss? According to Yi Tian's plans, making the war blood sky dragon his pet would be the safest bet. Monsters are sold at the Demon Sea base. Many are not easily tamed and don't fear threats, yet people still keep them as pets. There must be a way to do so, not like how I had to threaten Xiao Jin and Xiao Zi into acknowledging me as their master. Yi Tian planned to return to the Demon Sea base first and ask Yu Ling for advice. Perhaps Yu Ling would have better ways to tame monsters. Months later, Yi Tian returned to the Demon Sea base. The moment he arrived home, Xiao Jin, one of his pets, eagerly greeted him. Master, I've advanced to become a top-tier monster. Xiao Jin boasted excitedly. Not bad, Yi Tian nodded. Advancing to a top-tier monster in a few months was not a difficult feat, especially with abundant resources. Why are you still a grand martial artist? Xiao Jin asked, puzzled. Do you think you could beat me? Yi Tian stared at Xiao Jin. Master, I would never dare to fight you. I'm still no match for you. Xiao Jin immediately admitted defeat. He knew how terrifying his master was. Defeating opponents of higher levels was as easy as eating and drinking for him. Even though Xiao Jin had become a top-tier monster, he was absolutely no match for his master. By evening, Yi Yu returned. Months ago, Yi Yu had been a mid-level martial artist, and now he had reached the late stage, just one step away from becoming an elite martial artist. That night, Yi Tian gave Yi Yu a storage bag filled with medium-tier and some high-tier monster blood, then let him go off to cultivate on his own. At this point, apart from providing some resources, he couldn't assist Yi Yu in any other way. The next day, Yi Tian contacted Yu Ling via communicator and arranged to meet at a grand restaurant. As agreed, Yu Ling arrived. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter. Chapter 97, Morning Star Level Cultivation Talent. The two met face to face. Yi Tian, it's been months since I last saw you. What brings you here all of a sudden? Yu Ling feigned annoyance. I've been out in the wilderness hunting ferocious beasts these past few months, Yi Tian said, slightly embarrassed. Yu Ling was well aware that Yi Tian had left the Demon Sea base. She was merely teasing him. What did you want to talk about? Yu Ling inquired. Getting straight to the point, Yi Tian responded, I wanted to ask if you know of any way to tame a ferocious beast. Yu Ling looked at him curiously, I thought you already had 2 pets. Why are you asking me? Cough, those 2 beasts were subdued through threats. I actually have no idea how to tame a beast, Yi Tian confessed. Threats? Yu Ling's eyes widened. A beast intelligent enough to be threatened and acknowledge a master must be highly intelligent. Such intelligence suggested a beast would understand the importance of self-preservation and would thus submit. You are really lucky, Yu Ling said, enviously. Addressing Yi Tian's question, she answered sincerely, there are several ways to tame a beast. The first method is like you did, through threats, although the success rate is very low. The second involves having a king-level individual extract the soul light from the beast, allowing others to absorb it and thus complete the taming. The third involves martial artists with a beast control talent who can directly control the beast. Most beasts in the Demon Sea base were tamed by individuals with this talent. They use beast control cards, which, once refined, can be used to control the beast. If you wish to tame a difficult beast, you can hire a talented individual, with the fees varying based on the beast's level. It's not like you're short on money. Beast control talent, such a talent exists. Yi Tian was astonished. With this knowledge, he no longer had to worry. He could just replicate a beast control talent himself without seeking help. Thank you, Yi Tian expressed his gratitude. Ha, we're friends, so don't mention it. But if you had contacted me later, I'd be in closed-door cultivation, Yu Ling added nonchalantly. Are you planning to break through to the Grandmaster realm? Yi Tian guessed. Exactly, Yu Ling nodded, as a top-level cultivator, my success rate is 100%. Next time you see me, I'll be a Grandmaster. You've also reached the limit of a great martial artist. You should aim for the Grandmaster realm as well. Only then will you have a lifespan of 200 years and access to even greater mysteries. There's no point lingering at a lower level. I understand, Yi Tian said, smiling softly without disputing Yu Ling. Whether or not she knew about forming a perfect foundation was irrelevant. For the vast majority of martial artists, achieving a perfect foundation was merely a pipe dream. Thus, he didn't mention it or encourage Yu Ling to aim for it. He knew very well that it was impossible for her. After having dinner together, they parted ways. Instead of going home, Yi Tian headed toward the headquarters of the Beast Pavilion. The Beast Pavilion was a powerful organization that specialized in selling ferocious beasts. They had many branches within the Demon Sea base. He had previously replicated a high-level diamond bone talent from one of their branches. This time, he went straight to their headquarters, believing that someone with a beast control talent must be there. Once he located that person, he could easily replicate the talent. As he entered the Beast Pavilion, a beautiful junior staff member enthusiastically introduced various beasts to him. Yi Tian was distracted, only half listening, as he focused on replicating the talent. Whoa, whoa, within a 600-meter radius, everything fell under Yi Tian's perception. The aptitudes of each ferocious beast and each warrior were clearly discerned by him. What a pleasant surprise! Yi Tian's face lit up with joy. Not only had he discovered someone with a beast control talent, but he also found an individual with an extraordinary cultivation talent. Human. Li Pei. Cultivation talent. Top level. Beast control talent. High level. Human. Zhao Kei. Cultivation talent. Extraordinary. Fire blade talent. Mid. Zhao Kei seems to be the head of the Beast Hall. He should be at the king level and also possesses a mid-tier fire blade talent. He's quite impressive. I guess among the king-level individuals, he is one of the stronger ones, Yi Tian thought to himself. Without further ado, extraordinary cultivation talent, copy. He had successfully copied 2 extraordinary cultivation talents before. Now, all he needed was to copy one more extraordinary cultivation talent to ascend to a level above extraordinary. Originally, he wasn't in a rush to enhance his cultivation talent, his primary goal was to forge a perfect foundation. However, upon encountering such an extraordinary cultivation talent, not copying it would be foolish. After copying the extraordinary cultivation talent, Yi Tian still had one more talent to copy. So, he copied the beast control talent of the aforementioned individual. Having used up both copying opportunities, Yi Tian naturally wouldn't linger in the beast hall any longer. Little sister, I apologize, I have some matters to attend to. I'll come back to buy beasts another time. Ignoring the young salesgirl's pitiful eyes, Yi Tian decisively left the beast hall. Upon returning home, he couldn't wait to start integrating the beast control talent and the extraordinary talent. The first to be integrated was the high-level beast control talent, which he successfully melded with ease, breaking only a mild sweat. Half an hour later, Yi Tian began the integration of the extraordinary cultivation talent. It's going to hurt a lot, isn't it? Yi Tian speculated. This was the process of ascending an extraordinary cultivation talent to an even higher level. The pain it would bring was bound to surpass any previous experiences. Taking a deep breath, Yi Tian initiated the integration with a thought. Pain, excruciating pain, 10 or even 100 times more painful than childbirth. Had Yi Tian's willpower not been extraordinary, he might have passed out from the agony. In Yi Tian's consciousness, each second seemed longer than a century. After an unknown amount of time, Yi Tian finally emerged from the pain. It hurt so much. I really don't want to go through that again, Yi Tian said, though his heart contradicted his words. If given another such opportunity, even if the pain were doubled, he'd willingly bear it. Let's see how the talents are now. Yi Tian checked his talents using the copy talent ability. At that moment, he saw a brand new level of talent, cultivation talent, Morning Star. Is Morning Star a level above extraordinary in cultivation talents? Yi Tian was filled with anticipation toward this new level of cultivation talent. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter. Chapter 98. Dawn Level Bloodline Talent. Chapter 98. Dawn Level Bloodline Talent. I've reached the peak of a Grand Warrior now, so I can't test how much faster the Morning Star level cultivation talent enhances my cultivation speed compared to the extraordinary levels. I'll have to wait until I break through to the Grandmaster realm. Yi Tian suppressed his excitement over the Morning Star level cultivation talent and immediately began studying the beast control talent. Through the beast control talent, Yi Tian astonishingly discovered that he could sever the master-subordinate relationship with Xiao Jin and Xiao Zi at any time. This was because the beast control talent allowed him to extract and separate the light of the soul. Yi Tian tested it on Xiao Zi and found that establishing the master-subordinate relationship was as easy as before. However, when he tried to forcibly make Xiao Jin his subordinate, he failed. Left with no other option, he allowed Xiao Jin to voluntarily become his subordinate. After multiple tests, Yi Tian reached a conclusion: the beast control talent must be related to the soul. I'm only at the peak of the Grand Warrior level, while Xiao Jin has already reached the top tier of beasts. In terms of realm and soul strength, Xiao Jin is superior to me, so I can't forcibly make him my subordinate, Yi Tian concluded insightfully. Overall, the advanced beast control talent was still quite powerful. As long as the War-Blood Sky Dragon's realm wasn't higher than his, he could forcibly establish the master-subordinate relationship. Yi Tian then took out the War-Blood Sky Dragon egg again and noticed that the vitality within the egg had grown even stronger, as if it were about to burst forth. It's close now. In less than 10 days, it should hatch, Yi Tian speculated. 10 days wasn't long, he could wait. So, for the next 10 days, Yi Tian focused solely on comprehending the sword intent and temporarily set aside other cultivation practices. In a blink, 10 days passed. That day, Yi Tian felt the space around him quivering and immediately understood that the War-Blood Sky Dragon was about to be born. He took out the War-Blood Sky Dragon egg and activated the villa's soundproofing and aura-concealing formations. Beside him, Xiao Jin stared wide-eyed at the War-Blood Sky Dragon egg. It was familiar with this egg since its master often took it out to observe. Previously, it hadn't thought much of this egg, but now the pressure emanating from it made Xiao Jin feel very uneasy. Soon, the pressure grew stronger. This was not the suppression of strength but that of bloodline. Beasts value their bloodlines and grow entirely through them. Xiao Jin, for instance, had top-level bloodline talents, allowing it to grow into a top-tier beast even without consuming treasures or the flesh of other beasts. That was the advantage of having top-level bloodline talents. But now, even with its top-level bloodline talents, it felt suppressed. Could the egg master brought back be that of some royal beast? Xiao Jin thought, stunned. For some reason, it felt that once this egg hatched, it would lose its favored status. It must be an illusion, Xiao Jin comforted itself internally. However, it was not mistaken at all. It was indeed about to lose its favored status because Yi Tian was planning to make it the pet of Yi Yu. One could have a limited number of beast companions due to the limitations of soul endurance. To control the War-Blood Sky Dragon, Yi Tian had already severed the master-subordinate relationship with Xiao Zi and made Xiao Zi subordinate to Yi Yu. Soon, Xiao Jin would also be made subordinate to Yi Yu. So, Xiao Jin's worries were not unfounded. On the ground, the War-Blood Sky Dragon egg shook violently. Suddenly, there was a cracking sound. The indestructible shell, which even a grandmaster would find hard to break, developed a crack. As time passed, more cracks appeared. After about half an hour, a huge opening emerged in the war-blood sky dragon egg, and a small skull poked out. The skull resembled a dragon's head. Yi Tian had never seen a dragon, this was based purely on legends from his previous life. After the head emerged, the body also broke free from the shell. Soon, a little dragon more than a meter long appeared, its body blood red. It had no wings, it wasn't a Western dragon but an Eastern one. Check. Yi Tian immediately used his duplication talent to inspect the war-blood sky dragon's talents, his heart filled with anticipation. Yi Tian immediately used his copy talent to examine the innate abilities of the warblood dragon, his heart brimming with anticipation. Type: Warblood, Dragon Bloodline Talent, Dawn Level. Strength Talent, Top Tier. Defense Talent, Top Tier. Speed Talent, Mid Tier. Blood Draining Talent, Top Tier. Flight Talent, High Tier. Dragon Flame Talent, High Tier. Healing Talent, Mid Tier. Dragon Roar Talent, High Tier. Blood and Bone Talent, Mid Tier. Dragon Soul Talent, Mid Tier. With these 10 special talents, the dragon was almost on par with Yi Tian's own abilities. Of course, if Yi Tian wanted to copy even more talents, it would be effortless. However, to blindly duplicate useless talents would be purely wasteful. He had stringent requirements for each talent he chose to copy. If a talent were of no use to him, he wouldn't bother copying it. The talents of the warblood dragon are indeed extraordinary, but it's a pity there are only 3 top-tier ones, Yi Tian muttered, slightly dissatisfied. If the warblood dragon knew what Yi Tian was thinking, it would surely curse him. Why don't you find a beast with better talents than mine? Quickly, Yi Tian shifted his focus away from the dragon's 10 special talents and honed in on its bloodline talent, Dawn Level. Dawn Level should surpass Morning Star level talents, but I wonder by how many levels, Yi Tian thought to himself. Almost immediately, he felt a sense of regret. He walked the path of cultivation, not that of beasts' bloodlines. So, even if the warblood dragon's bloodline talent was extraordinarily powerful, he dared not copy it. If he did, he was unsure what side effects he would experience. He knew well that from then on, he could no longer cultivate like a human but would have to advance like a beast. It seemed favorable, but what would happen once he reached the warblood dragon's limitations? How would he progress? He couldn't copy a stronger beast, as bloodline conflicts were not to be taken lightly. He would be restricted to copying higher-level talents within the warblood dragon. But what if the dragon's dawn level was the pinnacle, leaving him no room for advancement? Faced with the choice between a difficult path, where his copy talent would become useless, and a glorious path with infinite growth, Yi Tian naturally knew how to choose. Dawn level talent is just that. There must be humans with something equivalent, Yi Tian concluded. First, let's tame the warblood dragon using the beast control talent. Yi Tian hurriedly applied his beast control talent to the dragon. Although the warblood dragon was of dawn level bloodline talent, it was only a mid-tier beast at the moment and not difficult to control. Moreover, the warblood dragon had just been born. The first being it saw was Yi Tian, so it was highly reliant on him. As a result, Yi Tian easily completed the beast control taming, successfully subduing the warblood dragon. Hungry, eat, a thought from the warblood dragon conveyed. The next moment, the dragon scuttled over to its birth eggshell and began to slowly chew. The indestructible shell melted as soon as it entered the dragon's mouth, integrating into its body. Yi Tian was astounded to find that the dragon's aura grew increasingly powerful as it ate the shell. After it finished eating, its aura surged, propelling it into the level of a high-tier beast. Additionally, its blood-red scales became even more durable, shimmering brightly. This talent is against the heavens, its growth rate is too fast. Yi Tian exclaimed. Fortunately, he had tamed the warblood dragon just in time. If he had waited any longer, and the dragon reached the top-tier beast level, he would be in deep trouble. Copy talent is still on cooldown. Once it's over, I'll copy the warblood dragon's blood-draining talent, Yi Tian planned. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 99. Blood Draining Talent and the Replenishment of Vitality. Yi Tian's cloning talent was about 20 days away from its cooldown period, leaving him plenty of time. During this period, he spent his days either contemplating swordsmanship or nurturing his relationship with the warblood sky dragon. The warblood sky dragon had just been born and its intelligence was still not fully developed, much like a human infant, requiring time to grow. Moreover, Yi Tian made a discovery: the dragon was particularly fond of consuming Chong beast blood. Even if the blood did not carry the dragon lineage, the creature would still consume it. To the warblood sky dragon, Chong beast blood was akin to milk, facilitating its growth. Seeing the warblood sky dragon grow day by day, getting bigger even as it consumed large quantities of Chong beast blood, Yi Tian was overjoyed. However, with both him and the warblood sky dragon being large consumers of blood, the amount of Chong beast blood needed for future cultivation would be enormous. Fortunately, he had a significant stockpile of Chong beast blood, but he suspected he would need to frequently venture into the wilderness in the future to meet their needs. A few days later, Yi Tian made a decision. He released Xiao Jin from his ownership, allowing the creature to become Yi Yu's beast companion. Xiao Jin grumbled for a while but eventually accepted the new arrangement obediently. In truth, becoming Yi Yu's beast companion was not a demeaning thing. Yi Yu had consumed the soul flower Yi Tian gave her and her cultivation talent had undergone a radical transformation. She was certain to become a grand master in the future, and there was even a glimmer of hope that she would reach the king level. Thus, Xiao Jin quickly came to terms with becoming Yi Yu's beast companion. A day before the cooldown for his cloning talent ended, Yi Tian withdrew from his contemplation of sword intent and sighed, murmuring, "Finally, my understanding of sword intent has reached 19%. These past few months of arduous cultivation and contemplation have not been in vain." 19% sword intent meant that with just a bit more effort, he could achieve 20%, which was the threshold for practicing silver-level sword techniques. Yi Tian was highly anticipatory, as many silver-level sword techniques were said to possess special effects beyond merely increasing combat power. Another day passed. The cooldown for his cloning talent ended, granting Yi Tian 2 more opportunities to clone talents. The first opportunity he gave to the blood-draining talent, a top-tier talent in blood manipulation and precisely what he needed. Once successfully cloned, he would be able to truly break the limits of blood refinement, allowing his skin, flesh, bone, and blood to reach unprecedented levels. He could then attempt the final step, breaking the limits of his internal organs to establish a perfect foundation. Merge. The blood-draining talent integrated into Yi Tian's body. The transformation began. 10 minutes later, Yi Tian successfully fused with the blood-draining talent and quickly understood its true utility. Consume blood to replenish vitality. Yi Tian immediately grasped the heaven-defying nature of this talent. This was even more potent than the healing talent. While the healing talent could mend injuries, it could not replenish vitality, which was linked to one's life force and beyond the scope of simple healing. For example, if Yi Tian had used some forbidden techniques that consumed his life force, the healing talent wouldn't be able to restore it. But now, with the blood-draining talent, he could consume large amounts of Chong beast blood to draw vitality from it and replenish his own. This was utterly groundbreaking. I've hit the jackpot, a big jackpot. Yi Tian was ecstatic. Armed with both the top-tier blood-draining talent and the top-tier healing talent, any future injuries or severe side effects would pose no challenge, he would be able to recover swiftly. Having acquired the blood-draining talent, Yi Tian immediately began practicing purple blood refinement technique. At that moment, Yi Tian astonishingly discovered that his blood-draining talent could perfectly synergize with the purple blood refining technique. The blood-draining talent allowed him to instantly absorb large amounts of high-level beast blood and store it deep within his veins. The purple blood refining technique could then draw out the power stored deep in the blood to refine the blood throughout his body. As a result, when he cultivated the purple blood refining technique while activating his blood-draining talent, his rate of progress soared. Based on this pace, Yi Tian was confident that he could break through the blood refining limit within 10 days. This would be much quicker than breaking through the limits of refining skin, flesh, and bones. It was an unexpected delight. However, rapid progress meant that he consumed more beast blood. In just a few days, Yi Tian had depleted all the beast blood he had stored. Regardless, he spent several billion to purchase a large amount of additional beast blood to compensate for the high consumption of high-level beast blood. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Yi Tian finally sensed that he had reached the limit of blood refining. Break. Harnessing both his blood-draining talent and the purple blood refining technique, he amassed a huge amount of energy and instantly broke through the blood refining limit, stepping into a whole new realm. At this moment, a tremendous change occurred in Yi Tian's blood. His blood became like mercury, even emanating a faint golden glow. By then, his blood had already surpassed that of ordinary people and was moving toward an even higher level. Still, for the moment, even after breaking the blood refining limit, he could no longer elevate his blood to a higher tier. The next step is to break the limits of the internal organs. The internal organs are too complicated. Relying solely on talents will be almost impossible. I can only rely on a gravity array to crush and then reshape the internal organs in order to break the limits, Yi Tian planned. For ordinary people, such an undertaking would be unthinkable. Even if they dared to attempt it, they would need a massive amount of high-grade healing potions and a lot of time to recover from their injuries. But Yi Tian was different. I possess top-level healing talent and can completely heal quickly. As long as the internal organs are not completely shattered, I can recover quickly. Basically, as long as I heal in time, unless something goes wrong with my brain, I'll be able to recover, Yi Tian confidently thought, certain that he could break the limits of his internal organs. At this point, he needed to find a gravity array with enough force to assist him in cultivation, otherwise, there was basically no way to break through the limit of the internal organs. A gravity array. I remember that the Demon Sea base has a cultivation tower funded by several big families, Yi Tian recalled. That cultivation tower had a variety of elemental arrays, gravity arrays, and arrays that aided in speeding up cultivation, reaction time, and combat strength. However, the cost of training there was quite high, basically affordable only for the wealthy. Off to the cultivation tower. Yi Tian left his house and headed straight for the cultivation tower. Demon Sea base, central area, Demon Sea cultivation tower. The entire tower stood at 500 meters, with 50 floors, each 10 meters high, each housing numerous cultivation rooms. At the entrance of the first floor of the cultivation tower, there was a specialized person collecting fees. Yi Tian took out his identification card and asked, "How much for the highest level gravity room for a day?" "Highest level?" The staff member replied, "The highest level is the king level gravity room, which is for king level cultivators. There are only 3, and all are currently reserved by 3 king-level individuals. The next tier, the heavenly level gravity room, is more than enough for top masters. You are just a martial artist, there's no need for such a high-level gravity room." "Then give me a heavenly level gravity room," Yi Tian said without hesitation. "All right, 50 million for a day," the staff member said. "For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 100, Mystical Talent. Chapter 100, Mystic Talent. I'll pay for 1 month in advance," Yi Tian announced. 1 month is 1.5 billion. The staff member looked at Yi Tian with a mix of astonishment and disbelief. He couldn't fathom that Yi Tian, a master martial artist, was willing to spend 1.5 billion to train in the heavenly level gravity training room for a whole month. This was sheer extravagance. Even some grandmasters dared not train in the heavenly level gravity training room for a month, limiting their sessions to just a few days. The true purpose of the gravity training room was for breaking through bottlenecks. With the aid of energy, it was easier to break through the physical constraints and ascend to new levels. The Qi training room was far more popular. Training inside could accelerate one's progress considerably. Yi Tian promptly paid the 1.5 billion and received the key to the heavenly level gravity training room. The heavenly level gravity training room is on the 8th floor. Any room whose entrance array isn't activated is available for use, the staff member explained. Yi Tian nodded in understanding and took the elevator powered by elemental force to the 8th floor of the training tower. He found an unoccupied gravity training room, and after entering, activated both the defensive and soundproofing arrays so that nobody would disturb him. The density of elemental qi here is at least 3 times greater than outside, Yi Tian muttered, after sensing the surroundings. This was still in gravity training room, not a qi training room, so one could only imagine how much more concentrated the elemental qi would be in a qi training room. However, training exclusively in a qi training room was something not everyone could afford, as it was even more expensive than the gravity training room. If I knew how to set up arrays, I could create my own qi training room. That would speed up my training considerably, much faster than grinding it out the hard way, Yi Tian mused. But this was not an immediate concern. He would try it after reaching the Grandmaster realm. What was most important for now was to break through the limits of his internal organs and establish a perfect foundation. Yi Tian inspected the gravity levels. There was a book inside the room specifically detailing how to use the gravity. The sky-level gravity training room offered a range of 1 to 1,000 times the usual gravity level. For master martial artists, the suitable range was between 1 to 5 times, elite masters between 5 to 20 times, and grandmasters from 100 to 1,000 times. Being a first-time user of the gravity training room, Yi Tian didn't want to overreach and initiated the setting at 100 times the usual gravity level. Boom! A massive wave of pressure hit him, and Yi Tian instantly felt his internal organs shake, sustaining injuries. Technically, given his current level, he should have been able to withstand 100 times the gravity. But it was his first time in such an environment, and his internal organs were not yet accustomed to such high levels of gravity, leading to injury. Yi Tian activated his healing talent, and his wounds swiftly healed. About 10 minutes passed, and Yi Tian had fully acclimated to the 100 times gravity level. 100 times the gravity is the limit that a master martial artist can endure. I need to withstand even higher gravity levels to have a chance of breaking through the limits of my internal organs, Yi Tian estimated. So, he increased the gravity level, 101 times, 102 times, 103 times. Yi Tian incremented it gradually. His flesh and bones were fine, but his internal organs struggled to bear the stress. They were slightly cracking, but he constantly activated his top-grade healing talent, ensuring that his injuries healed instantly and that there was no threat to his life. Time passed day by day, and Yi Tian's endurance limit gradually increased. freewebnovel.com. Half a month later, Yi Tian could withstand an gravity level of 108 times, but he still hadn't reached the limits of his internal organs. 110 times, 115 times, 120 times. Yi Tian kept increasing the gravity level, and a month quickly passed. Resigned, Yi Tian extended his training for another month in the gravity training room. Breaking the limits of the internal organs proved to be more challenging than any other type of breakthrough. Yi Tian understood this. After all, he was attempting to break through the limits of his internal organs without relying on a corresponding talent. But he was fully aware that this approach was feasible. Multiplied by 124. Yi Tian exhaled deeply. By this point, he had spent 50 days in the cultivation tower, and he had already withstood a force 124 times greater than usual. As he progressed further, increasing the force became increasingly difficult. He also sensed a certain constraint, a sort of limit. Perhaps 125 times will break this limit, Yi Tian hypothesized. So, after a long period of rest and returning to his peak condition, he initiated a 125-fold increase in force. Crack, crack, crack. His internal organs were shattering, but fortunately, Yi Tian's top-tier healing talent was rapidly healing him. Break, repair, break again. This was a cyclical process, and the pain he endured was unimaginable. But for the sake of forging a perfect foundation, Yi Tian was all in. Hours passed. Finally, at a certain moment, the invisible constraints were completely shattered by Yi Tian. Boom! Countless streams of natural energy from the universe surged into his internal organs, making them increasingly robust. They effortlessly withstood the 125-fold force and even emitted a faint, radiant light. I've succeeded. Yi Tian was ecstatic. Just as he was celebrating, the real transformation began. Skin, muscles, bones, blood, and internal organs all resonated, and a mysterious energy permeated into Yi Tian's body, instigating an inexplicable metamorphosis. Numerous impurities deep within his body were expelled. These impurities were almost black and emitted a foul smell, consisting of various toxins and wastes that normally couldn't be purged. But now they were forced out. This transformation lasted for an entire hour. How foul! Yi Tian looked at the impurities on his body and frowned. The 8th floor had a dedicated area for bathing, and Yi Tian quickly went to clean himself before returning to the force chamber. I should have a perfect foundation now, and I feel that my defensive, strength, vajra bone, and blood-sucking talents have all begun to integrate with various parts of my body, Yi Tian sensed. Maybe the talents have changed. Yi Tian speculated. Subconsciously, he checked his own talent status. What? Yi Tian was somewhat stunned. His talents had undergone significant changes. The talents that had changed were defensive, strength, vajra bone, and blood draining. Defensive talent, mystical fake. Strength talent, mystical fake. Vajra bone talent, mystical fake. Blood draining talent, mystical fake. These 4 talents were no longer top tier, they had transformed into mystical talents, albeit labeled fake. So the level above a special top tier talent is mystical talent, which is different from cultivation talents. I thought they were going to upgrade to extraordinary talents, Yi Tian murmured to himself. Curious about these suddenly emerging mystical talents, he rented testing equipment in the cultivation tower to test the amplification effects of these mystical talents. TL note. It's been 100 chapters. If you're enjoying the story, please leave a review or rating on Novel Updates. Thank you for your support. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60.